that
either, but
yeah, it's not the nicest of words, but anyway, sure.
But it's true. It was a dirty trick what you pulled there.
No, it was just so it's very hard to find the moments to do something like that.
Well,
And,
or the person that won't rip your head off.
No, I know, but she knows where I live, and see, I know I can hide, you see, because I'm not on the radio tomorrow or next week, so Marty Friel's in covering for me.
Ooh, anything nice planned?
No, well, kind of a few odd jobs about the house and spend a bit of quality time with the boys, and then I'm helping out with, because it's National Heritage Week.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, could I mention this? It's
Sure.
traditional building skills at the Guildhall in Ramelton. It's taking place on Sunday, the 13th of August. And it's from 10 a.m.
Is that
until
like
1.
thatching and stuff?
No, well, it's to do with it's nothing to do with that, but it's raking joints, addressing cracks, pointing, lime mortar, mixing, and stuff. And there's a good guy, S. Crawford Construction Seamus from Ramelton, and his team are going to be hosting the workshop.
Nice one. When's that?
That's on Sunday, 13th of August from 10 a.m. It's a bit early for people, maybe 10 a.m. until 1 p.m.
It's also a long way away, but I suppose you're not here next week.
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay, well,
Thanks
enjoy
for
that.
Enjoy your buns yesterday?
I did.
That was a nice surprise, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had
I have to declare the buns now.
Yeah. Who had the buns? There was 4.
I had 2 of them.
Who had the other 2?
I haven't a clue.
You don't know? You took them home?
I didn't take them home. I ate them here.
Come here. Good luck.
All right, Lee, enjoy your break. Okay, Lee will be back. Well, it's in the safe hands of Marty Friel next week, isn't it? And tomorrow. All right, then. Thanks very much, Lee. It's 9 o'clock time for a news update. In fact, it's a minute past 9. Let's say good morning again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The funeral of 2 teenage girls who died in a road crash in Monaghan will take place today. Best friends 16-year-old Dalava Mohammed and 17-year-old Kia McCann died while on their way to the Debs Ball in Monaghan on Monday night. A funeral service for Dalapa takes place in Clonsky Mosque in Dublin from 10 a.m. A cortege is making its way from Clonastown this morning. Requiem Mass for Kia takes place in the Sacred Heart Chapel in Clonas this afternoon. Largy College, where both girls were students, is providing buses for mourners to travel to and from Dublin for the funerals. Parish priest in Clonas, Father Peter Corrigan, says people in the town are numb at the scale of the loss.
Very much a mood of sadness and heartbreak, a mood of feeling very sad for the family. Both families were going through a very, very difficult period. So that sense of sadness, yes, I suppose heartbreak, even numbness at the death of 2 young people.
There is a warrant out for the arrest of a former Sinn Féin official after he failed to appear in Derry Magistrates Court for child sex charges due to a flat tyre. 41-year-old Michael Gerard McMonigal of Limewood Street, Derry, is facing 3 charges. Alison Morris reports in the Irish Times that McMonigal is accused of attempting to communicate with a person under the age of 16 for the purpose of sexual gratification, attempting to cause a person under the age of 16 to look at an image of sexual activity, and attempting to incite a person under the age of 16 to engage in sexual activity. Round 0 CAO offers will be given out to applicants today. This round for graduate medicine applicants, some mature students and some PLC graduates going on to university. It comes after Round A offers were handed out to some mature students last month. Brian Mooney, career guidance counsellor and education communist, explains what's next.
And then we move on in 3 weeks' time to what is called Round 1, which in many ways negates all these mature people and PLCs, but that will be in 3 weeks' time. So this morning, it's good news for those 5,000 plus people who will get their offers about 10 o'clock.
October's budget could be a generous one. Exchequer figures for July showed yesterday that tax take-up is 10% on the same time last year. Just under €48 billion was collected in taxes for the first 7 months of 2023. Looking to the weather, mostly cloudy today with good dry spells and scattered showers. Some sunny spells will develop, especially towards the evening. A fresh day with highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees in blustery northwest winds. That's all for now. The next news update's at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Like lower prices on everyday essentials? Then make Aldi top of your shopping list. Essentially, Aldi have lower prices on, well, the essentials, including Belmont Milk Chocolate Butter Biscuits was 99¢, now only 89¢. Bramwell Squeezy Real Mayonnaise was 109, now only 99¢. Brooklee 12-pack yogurt drinks was 175, now only 149. And Carlo's Stone Baked Flatbread Calabrese Salami was 329, now only 299. You won't just like more value, you'll love it.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello
and a very good morning to you. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show at 4 minutes past 9 on this Thursday. It's the 3rd of August 2023. I do hope you're all feeling very good, feeling well, and on board with us for the next 3 hours. 086 60 25,000. The WhatsApp and text line is open for you right now. 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. In both instances, if you're calling from outside the Republic, it's 00353. Drop the first O and away you go. If you want to email us too from wherever you're listening, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And we've another busy show for you. Even though it's August, it is a little bit quiet, but yet we plug away to bring you all the information and entertainment that you might need on another damp day. Bit chilly too. All right, lots of newspapers out this morning. Let's see what's making their headlines. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, the nightmare experience in the view of a well-known Letterkenny family who had a brother admitted to Letterkenny University Hospital twice in the past fortnight amid lengthy delays and lack of information to his family. The man was first hospitalised after falling suddenly ill at the family home in Letterkenny. The man is 70 plus and has a history of epilepsy after a head trauma in former times. His siblings said their contacts with the HSE and its relevant services have been the worst nightmare of their lives, and they would not wish their experience on anyone else. And there's a detailed account of that story on the front of and inside that paper today. The Donegal Democrat tells us that panic is setting in as student accommodation crisis worsens. As the start of the academic year approaches, students and parents are finding it impossible to secure accommodation for some third-level institutions. While this is a perennial issue, it is a highly stressful time for young people who should be looking forward to pursuing the next chapter of their lives. One parent told Donegal Live, "I have a very distressed young woman here. She has her heart and soul set on a course in the ATU in Sligo. She's worked very hard to get the best leaving cert possible, and we don't know if she'll be able to take up the placement even if she does get it." Is that a stress and a worry for you out there today? Finding student accommodation, let us know. 086 60 25,000. The Donegal News this morning, strong claims that violent assaults in Letterkenny are becoming a common occurrence have prompted a call for the Garda Commissioner to revisit the allocation of just one newly attested Garda to Donegal. Inside 24 hours on Tuesday, 2 separate altercations occurred in Letterkenny Town Centre. Once again, there have been calls for an increased Garda presence in the town. Meanwhile, one local resident has told the Donegal News that there is now a nervousness among local people living in the lower Main Street area. The latest incidents began at around 5:45 on Tuesday. 2 males were observed involved in an altercation on the Pierce Road. The incident, which happened in broad daylight, was observed by many local people and caused a delay as traffic had to swerve to avoid the 2 men. Just hours later, Gardaí were called to a public order incident and alleged assault that occurred at an address at Lower Main Street in Letterkenny. The problems seem to continue. There is obviously they've thrown 10 million at the situation in Dublin, promised more Garda. A ton of those Gardaí that were recently qualified are being appointed to Dublin. To Donegal, one single solitary Garda was appointed to this district, and this is despite many concerns. The solution here seems to be CCTV. I think that's useful in terms of acquiring evidence, in terms of preventing these types of activities. You just get the impression, considering they're happening in broad daylight, that that's not going to be deterrent for those that might be involved. Again, if that's something you want to talk about, 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps or text, or call us on 07491 25,000. The Derry News this morning, major concerns have been raised locally regarding the recently announced redundancies at First Source Solutions call centre based in the city's Springtown Business Park. In a somewhat bizarre arrangement, it appears First Source's competitor, Results CX, is handling the Derry redundancy negotiations. In late May, the global business process management company revealed it was beginning a redundancy consultation process with its employees in Derry and Belfast. It was believed the company was seeking 200 redundancies. The full story inside that paper today. On to the Nationals now. Let's start with the Independent. And this maybe is going to come as a surprise to some of you. And the reason I suggest that might be the case is that it's come as a surprise to me. I tend to use incredibly little amount of oil during the summer purposely. So what that means is that I don't track the price, and I probably should, because maybe that's the best time to buy oil. And I'm kicking myself now because apparently the cost of home heating oil has shot up again just weeks before many homeowners order their first winter fill. It now costs around €1,036 on average for a 1,000 litre fill. The average price for 1,000 litres was €900 just a few weeks ago. The cost of a full tank of heating oil has shot up by more than €50 over the past week alone, according to a nationwide survey by price comparison site oilprices.ie. This is one of the fastest increases seen this year. Around 1.5 million Irish households use home heating oil to heat their homes, with most of these in rural areas. The lowest prices I'm seeing are in Dublin and Kildare at $9.41. Get it while you can, said Eamon Mulvihill of oilprices.ie. He said that the highest prices were also in Dublin and in Wexford. So that's a bit of a shocker. I've never filled an oil tank, if I'm honest. It's normally half at most, but it looks like it's over 500 for 500 litres, over 1,000 for 1,000. And as I say, I'm kind of kicking myself that maybe I didn't order the oil a couple of weeks ago, as that comes as a surprise to you. The Irish Times leads with an American news story. Former US President Donald Trump's expected to appear in court today for what's likely to be the start of the process for a third criminal trial, which he'll face in the months ahead. Mr. Trump will be arraigned at the court appearance in Washington, D.C. this afternoon, where prosecutors will allege that, essentially, he led a conspiracy aimed at overturning the 2020 election after he lost to his Democratic rival Joe Biden. A coup of sorts, you could say. A grand jury in Washington earlier this week indicted the former president on 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceedings, obstruction of and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Now, this is only working in Donald Trump's favour. The grand jury in Washington is not really seen as impartisan. And every time Donald Trump is accused of something or he's dragged before the courts, his popularity goes through the roof. Him and Biden, if they went head-to-head today, they're neck and neck in the polls. It's pretty much a 50-50 race. So I believe that actually Joe Biden and whomever strings he's pulling are actually doing Mr. Trump a favour. There's a remarkable story of Nicholas Rossi, and it is the stuff of a Netflix documentary. There is certainly podcasts being made about this, and there is a very good podcast out at the moment. And we're going to be chatting to the person who put that together. But this person is a rape suspect. He posed as an Irish orphan and is accused of faking his own death to avoid prosecution. Well, he can now be extradited from Scotland to the US to face charges, a court has ruled. Nicholas Rossi is wanted by authorities in Utah for allegedly raping a woman in 2008, with the sheriff in Edinburgh yesterday branding him dishonest and deceitful. He also faces complaints against him in Rhode Island for alleged domestic violence. Now, he insisted that he was not this person from America who allegedly they faked his death. And then he came over to Scotland, pretended he was of Irish descent, that he wasn't the person at all. But it turns out he most likely is, or he is. And we're going to speak to the producer, the compiler of the podcast about that story, because it is a fascinating one, in this hour. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris will this morning meet leaders of the force's largest representative body a week after it announced a no-confidence vote in him. This is in the Irish Daily Star. The meeting with a delegation of the 11,000-strong Garda Representative Association is to be held at the force's Phoenix Park HQ in Dublin at 9 a.m, so it's underway. And it was Mr Harris who invited the officers to take part. It's understood the Commissioner, who came back from holiday on Monday, decided to invite the GRA delegation to the meeting at short notice to discuss the organisation's concerns. Neither the GRA nor Garda HQ wanted to comment last night. It'll be very interesting, and we should know later today if the GRA suspend that vote. they're hardly going to call it to vote confidence in Mr Harris, are they? So it's either they go ahead with it in the knowledge that it'll be passed, or they'll withdraw it. We shall see. The Sun this morning, RTE must publish the 4 internal reports into its secret payments to Ryan Tubridy. Now, a TD has insisted. Fine Gael's Alan Dillon said the fact the Montrose sponsorship saga is rumbling on for a third month is having a negative impact on all concerned. Dillon, who serves on the Media and Public Accounts Committee, argued that it's very much in the public interest to release the reports immediately, with licence fee payment continuing to plummet. Now, I don't know if the publication of these reports will stem the fall in those paying their TV licence, but I suppose it's good to have that information out. Now, we were talking to Bernardo's yesterday about the cost of sending young ones back to school, and the lady we spoke to was optimistic that the government would extend the free book school to secondary schools. I pointed out yesterday on the programme that I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. It's easy for them to do. They can do it. The money is there and it would make a huge difference, but they're holding back on it. We sort of got the impression yesterday that maybe something might be happening really soon. Well, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar was asked about this yesterday afternoon, and he's indicated it might not be possible to introduce free secondary books alongside the primary school books. In an interview with the Irish Mirror, the Taoiseach said despite warnings from charities parents are on the brink, the plan is a medium-term project. So in other words, not in this term, it would seem. Research published by Bernardo's yesterday found the average cost of the basics needed for a fourth-class pupil is $320 a year. A first-year pupil is $972, and a fifth-year pupil is $863. It's Back to School survey, which, we know all of that. I want to get to his comments. Mr Varadkar cast doubt on whether it would be possible to do so soon after rolling out free primary school books. Children up to 6th class will no longer have to pay for the books from next month. We know that. But he said, it's definitely something we'd like to do. I can't say it's going to be in the budget. A big part of our agenda is to reduce the cost of healthcare, childcare and education. When it comes to schools, what we're bringing in is the free school books and hot school meals. We want to be able to extend that. I'd love to see a situation where we have free school books for secondary schools and we've every primary school getting hot school meals, but we have to make sure we have the capacity to do that. It's not always just about money. We'll decouple the food in secondary school from the books. I don't see why there has to be a connection between hot food and books. I can't imagine then what resources might be needed to provide free school books if you decouple it from the hot food. But anyway, so if you were hoping that was about to happen, I'm afraid your hopes have been dashed, according to the comments there from on Taoiseach.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
Raymond Sweeney here to let you know about some great value laptops we now have in stock, like the super affordable Ventura Europa, powered by an Intel Celeron processor, ideal for studying, e-learning and keeping up to date with the latest news for just $249. Also the super fast Avita Pura laptop with a Ryzen 5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage for only $399. Check out these and other great value laptops now at Ben Sweeney Euronics in Letterkenny and Dunlow.
An bhfuil gnógacht a talonithe in Inanal ar bhaileat go mbeidh sé éifeachtal ó híomh fuinneamh dé, caithsúil ar an scéim éifeachtalacht fuinneamh a teir cur foiil ag an oifig fiontar éitiúil in Inanal. Foiil agus úsáid trealamh a tíosar fuinneamh agus gendo nó spragu lena lór carbon ar an timpachta de léadú le cáis costais uinneamh a íslu. Má chailíonn do gnód an scéim, hiag deontas éagsla a bhaint má, ó deontas a chlúdaíonn 50 den hasta somlan go deontas ar Westmaid de €5,000. Is í an éifeachtalacht de sachtaí. Hiag teiliúla se eil ag localenterprise.ie/Hantasi Donegal.
Hi, I'm Mark Priority and, like most of us, I look forward to a bit of sunshine in the summer. But if that's too much to ask for, there's always M&S Irish strawberries. As a chef, I really appreciate the quality. Only ever stem-picked to protect the berry when they're deep red and full of flavour. Perfect in an eaten mess, with cream or even a twist of black pepper, or just on their own, because summer treats don't get any better than this. These are not just strawberries, these are M&S Irish strawberries.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 19 minutes past 9 now. Ida Donagha is Principal Medical Officer for North West with the HSE and joins us on the programme now. Ida, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you on the programme. Now, we're here
Good morning to all your listeners. I'm delighted to be here to talk about the Laura Brennan HPV catch-up programme.
Okay, so just give us the background to this programme. We've talked about it before, but just for those who may not be aware, talk to us about the history of it being named after Laura.
Yeah, well, just a bit of background on the whole programme. You may be aware that the WHO have targeted cervical cancer as a disease that can be eliminated. So by 2030, they want, the target is that 90% of all girls by the age of 15 would be vaccinated with HPV. And this would be a significant, this is a roadmap that they have designed, and Ireland has its own roadmap. And as part of that, a very key part of that, we have the Laura Brennan HPV catch-up programme. And that gives an opportunity for those who previously missed out and were eligible to now register and get vaccinated. I'm sure your listeners remember Laura Brennan was a young woman who at a very young age died from cervical cancer. And during the final stages of her illness, she was a very, very keen campaigner against, in favour of preventing cervical cancer and therefore promoted the HPV vaccine in particular. And her slogan was, get the facts, get the vaccine, and get protected. And that's my message to everyone here today who might be out there, who are in the group. So young women under 25 and school-going boys and girls from second year up to Leaving Cert. So to please check, I'm sure you're not awake yet, but your mums and dads, even grandparents are probably listening, hopefully. And if you think your child hasn't been vaccinated, please check in on HPV. There is a database that works in the background to check whether people have previously received the vaccine, and therefore it'll be able to guide you as to whether you need, whether you're eligible and require a dose. If you've previously been vaccinated, you don't need another dose.
Yeah, and I think that's quite useful because life is very busy, and with the passage of time, people might be uncertain whether or not they actually received this vaccine. So is it easily accessible, this database, for people to, rather than actually enter the process to try and book it and then to be told, but to find out in advance if they have received the vaccine?
Well, the way it works, Greg, is that, you may have your immunisation passport, or your parents, your mum or dad may have it in a drawer at home. And if you receive the vaccine at school, the chances are it'll be stamped in there. The way it works then is when you register your interest for the vaccine, you give your name, date of birth, your PPS number, and the background check will happen. It's not you that activates that database. Just by simply registering it, activates the process, and it will check it in the background. Sometimes people can, when they know a clinic is on, they may walk in and, the checking can take place at that point. But it's best done in advance if at all possible.
There is, obviously a lot of talk of vaccines over the last year, and people might have a concern with one particular vaccine, and then it can be grouped into all vaccines, and yourself with all the information out there. But without really going down that route, what would you say to people who have found themselves now vaccine hesitant and are lumping this vaccine in potentially with concerns they might have about other vaccines?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking, because I agree. I think there is a little bit of hesitancy, as you call it, or complacency out there. But what I would advise people very strongly to do is, if they have any concerns at all, just get the information. And if you log on to hpv.ie, there is a link there that will give you access to over 100 research papers, all of which are based on the fact that over 100 million people have received this vaccine over the last 15, 16 years. And all that data has been analysed, brought together, and is now presented in a manner that it's very clear that this is a very safe and effective vaccine. So it is over 90% effective against this disease. So in that sense, it is a very important prong in the protection of people against cervical cancer, and not just cervical cancer, but other anogenital cancers, and also the very uncomfortable and unpleasant condition of genital warts. So just to remind people of that. Sometimes people can feel, oh, it'll never happen to me, cancers are rare and they happen to older people. And sure enough, there is quite a significant lag phase with the development of cervical cancer. What actually happens is most of us in our lifetime, through sexual contact, will become infected with HPV, and most of us will shed it, if not within the first year, within the second year. But if the infection persists, then that is more likely to be the higher risks HPV subtype. And that can linger there and persist and infect the cells of the cervix, and eventually go on to cause either precancerous or cancerous lesions. And that does take time. But then you're down the road of, treatment, which is quite invasive and so on. So the key message here, this is an opportunity, if you missed out before, to now get protected.
Yeah, and it's we're in a position whereby the medical consensus seems to be that, and we'd love if it was the case across the board, that we have a cancer that could be effectively eliminated, which is incredibly significant. So in terms of the catch-up clinics, they're being held on Tuesday, the 8th of August, between 9:30 a.m. and 4:15 p.m, and Tuesday, August 22nd, between 9:30 a.m. again and 4:15 p.m. All clinics will be held at the Immunisation Department at St Connell's Campus, Letterkenny, County Donegal. How do people have to book in advance, or are these walk-up clinics, or what's the situation?
This is where that you log on to the hpv.ie and register your interest in the vaccine and book an appointment. So that's how you do it. And then you will get a text back to confirm that you've received your appointment. And also you'll be asked to bring, some form of ID. When you arrive at the clinic, then you will have a consent form that you will fill in. And then if you're eligible, you will get your vaccine. And then, of course, as is customary, you will be looked after for 15 minutes following your vaccine. And then, hey presto, you're good to go.
And it's for women only, isn't it?
No, no, it's the women under 25. And it's for boys and young men and girls and young women between second year and leaving cert.
Okay, and just to be absolutely clear, because I do have in the press release here, it says females who've completed second level school and are 24 years of age or younger. It's 25 though.
Under 25.
Right, okay,
yeah.
So 20. Okay. Yeah. Females second to sixth year of secondary school, males in second to fourth year of secondary school, or fifth year if they've skipped transition year in school. All right, okay. Well, people can take that information on board, and if they've any reservations, do their research, and they can see if they're interested. Thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate your time this morning. That was Ida Nick Donoghue, who is Principal Medical Officer for Northwest, or for the Northwest with the HSE. All right, we'll be back with more after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This Friday night at Rathmullen Festival, it's the official opening at 8 p.m. with live music from Sailor Bill. Saturday, it's an afternoon of fun and sport, and later there's live music from Declan McClafferty, My Generation and Roving Out. All at Rathmullen Festival this bank holiday weekend. This ad is sponsored by Wiersky's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour Ramelton.
Sure, skipping a bus fare might not feel like it makes that much of a difference. But would you rather pay this correct fare or that €100 fine? hold on to this ticket, or have that awkward conversation with the inspector. Get off at this stop, or stay past your limit and face that getting caught out feeling. We didn't think so. So make the right decision and pay the right bus fare. It's that simple. This message is brought to you by Bus Éireann, part of the Transport for Ireland network. For more, visit transportorireland.ie.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently have a vacancy for a welcome advisor. The successful applicant will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
Because that's when we flash the cash to get you in the mood for the big bucks. It's all coming soon, only on Highland Radio.
Highland Radio.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme, and I'm really pleased to welcome on to it Jane McSorley, journalist and host of the Audible podcast, I Am Not Nicholas. Good morning to you, Jane.
Good morning.
Is it the morning where you are?
Well, it's not actually. It's 6:30 in the evening, so I'm in Brisbane.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Now, this is a fascinating story that continues. US authorities claim Nicholas Rossi is a fugitive who went on the run to evade serious sex charges. The 35-year-old claims is an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight. Now, I think there's almost another podcast in your podcast as to how everything sort of came to pass and how you began to work on this. But can you, before we talk a little bit about the podcast, can you just give us a bit of a background to this gentleman?
This gentleman was born Nicholas Alaverdian. He's I can't remember his year of birth exactly, but he's 37, and he was born in Rhode Island, in Providence in Rhode Island, and his background, he had quite a dysfunctional sort of upbringing, and his mother basically remarried, and he then took the marriage broke down. She married a man called David Rossi, and then Nicholas Alaverdian then took on the name of his stepfather. So it came that he had to leave home. I think it was sort of a mutual sort of breakdown in the relationship between the parents and Nicholas, and he ended up in foster homes in the Rhode Island, and there it is alleged that he says he was abused, and it's come out that it seems that he might have been an abuser there as well. But he was a big advocate for the child welfare system in Providence and Rhode Island, for improving it, and it was through that then that he actually became quite a figure in local politics in Providence and Rhode Island. And that started actually from a very early age, about the age of 13 or 14, when he got in on a scheme as a page, which was really like a gopher for the politicians, the representatives of the State House. And he got a taste of what it was like, I suppose, being inside the State House. And from there, he then, was on a mission to try and bring big changes into the child welfare system. And, he was well respected. He was, journalists knew him. He was like the go-to guy for a quote in terms of the whole child welfare, the Department of Children, Youth and Welfare in Rhode Island. So, he was a wee bit of a figure there in terms of, the child welfare system in Rhode Island.
Okay, and what is he accused of that led to him fleeing the jurisdiction of the United States?
So basically, he was on the sex offenders registry for a sexual assault that he had committed in 2008 in Sinclair Community College in Dayton, in Ohio, and so his basically DNA was there in the system. He was on the sex offenders registry. He still is until the end of this year. And it was in 2019 that the state in Utah was going through old sort of rape kits that hadn't been fully investigated at the time, and this was going back a number of years, and they actually got a match for a rape that hadn't been looked into or investigated, and the match was of Nicholas Rossi / Alaverdian from 2008. I mean, he he knew then his days were numbered. I mean, he was, he knew he needed to get away, and because there was other sexual assaults that he had been that they were wanting to question him about. He'd been in and out of trouble with the law for a number of years, and so he decided. He was on a mission to try and evade justice, and in 2017 he got a one-way ticket to Dublin. And from there, then he got over to London and he stayed in the UK. And it was there, actually in 2020, he then decided to fake his own death because he realised that they were coming after him. They realised that he thought that, his days were numbered, and he thought the only way I can avoid this is by dying.
And that's what he did. Yes, but he's such a bizarre character, if that's the right word, in that he didn't want to sort of just fake his death and slip off into anonymity. He wanted Nicholas Rossi to be recognised and lauded in his death. Is that an exaggeration?
No. Absolutely not an exaggeration, and you've hit you've nailed it. That was one of his downfalls. I truly believe he's such a narcissist. He loved the attention. Now, he could have just died, but he prepped it. So basically, he wasn't around, but he was making calls to local radio stations and informing local politicians. Obviously, he wasn't in America at the time, but they didn't know that he had very advanced stages of lymphoma, and he had like months to live. And he was on radio stations talking about it and all the rest. So he had his plan. So then he dies, in inverted commas, on the 29th of February 2020. But that's not enough. What then happens is that there is a grieving widow that appears on the scene, and nobody knew he was married. Nobody even knew that he had children, which he didn't. And she then goes about, she's on a mission to get obits written for him, to get proclamations made in the State House from the state representatives, to get a requiem, to get a memorial service arranged for him. She goes after, so it was like, and she was really going for it in terms of the obituaries. It was the Providence Journal was one of the newspapers that she went after, but she also contacted the Boston Globe. It was like, Nicholas knew one of the journalists in the Boston Globe from his early days, whenever he was, trying to push for child welfare. His name is, I can't remember his name now, but he's in our podcast, and he basically contacted him, and, or she contacted him to basically, to say, my late husband, he was such a great man, and he did get some of those obits. It actually was on the Boston Globe online for a very short time, and then they suspected something and they got it taken down. Yeah,
but that in itself is a six-parter right there, if you know what I mean. But that's not really... you haven't even entered the fray yet as such, because he is discovered, seemingly, though he claims he is not, in a COVID hospital ward in Glasgow. And it's the coverage of that which really is not necessarily headline news everywhere, that you come across this article and just instantly the story grabbed you. What was it about? Talk to us a little bit about his, how he was rumbled and how you sort of saw this and said, I have to do something, I have to make something about this. It's too bizarre not to.
It is suspected how he was rumbled is that the intelligence services got into some internet storage account. It seems that he was still using it, and that's how they were able to figure out where he was. So the net was closing in on him, which he didn't suspect. And he, in September 2021, the police, along with Interpol, do turn up at his flat where he lives with his wife Miranda in Glasgow, and he's not there because he'd been admitted to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow, really suffering very badly from COVID. So he's in there, he's in intensive care, he's on a ventilator, and but the police have their man. They've got the staff there in the hospital to look at photographs of the Nicholas Rossi and compare him with the man in the bed very sick. And also he had very distinctive tattoos, Nicholas Rossi, the man in the bed in the hospital in Glasgow had very distinctive tattoos. Anyway, the net was closing in very much, and whenever he came out of his coma, he was in and out of a coma. So it was in December, so it was like 3 or 4 months after he was admitted into the hospital. He's still there, but he's just in a normal ward. And Police Scotland turn up and arrest him in his bed.
Yeah, okay. And you saw an article on this, and is that what sort of caught your interest? Is it as simple as that?
Absolutely as simple as that. I mean, it just jumped out of the page for me online. It was, I live in Scotland. I'm from Belfast, and I, every morning, if I'm just having a cup of tea, having breakfast, I look at the news online, and I went to the BBC Scotland page online, and it was a wee bit further down. I mean, certainly wasn't the lead, but it was a US man who faked death found alive in Glasgow. And I was like, wow. And I just the article posed more questions that I answered, and said that he was going under the name of Arthur Knight. And I just thought, I am working on this story. This has got to be a podcast, and from then on, I just picked it up and I ran with it. And I thought, I don't even know who I'm making this for, but I went out and, attended the hearing in Edinburgh Sheriff Court. It was a couple of days later, and went to where he lived, spoke to his neighbours, spoke to the man that owned the bar that he frequented, round the corner, and made many calls to America. And I was on a mission, and it was very exciting because nobody seemed to be looking at the bigger picture. There was just sort of the odd news report, but the bigger picture was the story really. What was this all about?
And the thing about this podcast and all good documentaries is access to people close to it, be it the landlord, be it people that know him, be it the man himself and his partner. Do you know what I mean? I love that stuff. I don't mind the talking heads ones, right? But that's fine. It just passes the time of day while you're on the phone. These, when you have access to the people and you... and I don't want to give it away, not give it away, but we want people to listen to it as well. But you're on a journey here as well. I mean, you are to some extent hoodwinked through this process, aren't you? And the tape's running. And the more you listen, the more bizarre it gets in terms of you going round to his house. And we don't have time for it, but it's just one of those stories that develops as it goes. That's why I almost say it's almost a podcast in the making of this podcast. It really is one of those pieces of work, isn't it, Jane?
Yeah, no, it was. And I think that's why it has been very successful. I mean, Audible are saying it's the best performing true crime podcast since West Cork. So, I mean, that is saying something,
isn't it?
And yeah, it's a big deal. And I think that the secret to the success of it really is because the story is evolving from the moment that I start looking at it. It's not as if I'm telling the story that happened in the past. Yes, I'm going back to the past, but then I've become very involved in the story, and the story goes on as I'm working on it, and I have. I mean, within a few weeks, I was being asked round for dinner to his flat with himself and Miranda, and that was a whole eye opener. And I didn't know what I was going into. I thought, but I was sort of 99% sure he was this, rapist, sex abuser with a very violent temper, had been in and out of the law in the US, and really not a very nice man. But then there was a wee bit of doubt, thinking, well, actually, maybe they've got it wrong. Maybe the authorities have got it wrong. And it's the first episode in the podcast, but something happens, when I'm there. I'm there for 4.5 hours, which makes me completely sort of reverse my thinking. And I come out of there and I actually he's hoodwinked me. There's absolutely no question.
Well, we won't go into any because there's a couple of things along the way, and I did hear someone review it that talks about these things. But I think people, if they choose to, you kind of want those discoveries as you go through, don't you? Totally, they're not necessarily spoilers as such, but it's like those seriously moments. So we don't want to in any way ruin that journey for people. Though, as I say, it's not really a spoiler. So. obviously, he's back in the news again now. You're convinced, obviously, I presume at this point, that it is Nicholas Rossi. And there's videos out there of some bizarre performances with him in the mask on and everything. It's just really the most remarkable story. Where can people listen to your podcast, Jane? Because I think this is up there with some of the, the best. If people like this real stuff with great access to the characters involved.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's basically, it's on Audible's website. So you just go into the wee search box and you put in "I am not Nicholas," and it should take you straight to it.
Okay, listen, thank you for your time and thanks for joining us from the other side of the world. Isn't it amazing, the technology? If I had you on a regular phone line, there'd be like a 3 or 4 second delay, and here we are looking at each other. Jane, congratulations on the success of this, and thank you so much for joining us.
Very welcome.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's Jane McSorley there from Belfast, living in Scotland. And as I say, it's just an interesting story, and it's just something a little bit different for us to talk about. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApps and text number. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
Wait till you CFC the summer sale at CFC Interiors. Unbelievable offers right across 3 massive locations. Get up to 50% off interiors, sofas, beds, flooring and giftware. And amazing offers on garden furniture and Weber barbecues. CFC Interiors, Cookstown, Campsie and Abbey Centre. Sale must end this Saturday.
Over recent months, we've all been dealing with the reality of rising energy costs. And we've all been making changes to reduce our energy use. However, if you are having trouble paying your energy bills, be sure to talk to your supplier as soon as possible. There are a range of protections in place for customers. Organisations such as MABS and Alone can also help. For information on these and all other supports available, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are on the road once again. Tune in this Wednesday at 2:30 for the Jive Time Show with David James, and Friday morning for Greg Hughes and the 9 till noon show, with both shows live from the heart of the 56th Mary from Dunloe International Festival to celebrate their fun-filled programme of events. Check out the full lineup on maryfromdunloe.ie. Brought to you in association with Kavanagh SuperValue Dunloe.
All right, we're back in the room. Right, let's get to some of your comments here now. Government gave students accommodation to refugees. What will they do for the students now? Hi, Greg. If I remember correctly, you said when immigrants were given student accommodation, it would only be for the holidays, but we knew this would happen. Immigrants put before the students. What I said is that the government said, and I'm not a government spokesperson, that the government says that this was being given to them on a short-term basis. So just to be clear, if I read what the government says or if I read what the opposition says, it's not me saying it as such, but if I do express a view, it should be clear that it's coming from me. I was listening to Michael yesterday regarding his terrible experience with Irish Life. I had the same experience with them and I lost everything. I'm so sorry to hear that. Greg, there are 2 telegraph poles between Buncrana and Stragill Beach, or Stragill Beach, that are completely unsafe and have been like this for weeks. Why hasn't this been looked at, says a caller. Greg, in relation to back-to-school allowance and school uniforms, I think there should be a voucher given, and these vouchers should be spent in local shops. Lots of these smaller shops depend on back-to-school trade for the biggest part of their income. When this money is being handed out, it should be spent locally so everyone gets the benefit. Also, agree with the comments where the working families are not entitled to this, as a lot of them struggle. Listen, of course, anything that's introduced, we wouldn't want it to be a disadvantage to business, and that can all be hopefully accounted for in the wider picture. Sending my little girl to play school in August. She's not 3 yet. €62 for her uniform. I mean, she's not 3. Important report by Bernardo's highlighting a reality for many parents, says this listener. I used to subscribe to Bernardo's but cancelled when it was revealed in 2014 that the CEO Fergus Finley's salary was €117,000 on top of being a journalist with the Examiner. Sounds like a lot now, but not really in when you see some of the salaries being paid, but I take your point. This is part of a letter we got from my daughter's school. Is this legal to demand this payment? It clearly says must be paid. Could Greg highlight this issue with Bernardo's? Now, it's underneath the sheet. Let me read what it says. Please note The admin charge of €50 for fifth-year students must be paid in full before the first day of the new school term. This can be paid online during July and August 2023. Unfortunately, we're no longer able to accept cash payments, and all payments must be made through our Compass app. Well, that's a demand, isn't it? An admin charge of €50 for fifth-year students must be paid in full before the first day of the. That certainly doesn't read to me like a voluntary charge. Could I please ask Greg what is driving up the fuel prices? Petrol in Carndonagh, $1.69 per litre. If you could put it out there to see, is it all the same in other parts of the country? I saw over $1.70 for petrol in Letterkenny this morning. I don't know why prices are trending upwards again. There is more government VAT to go on. But I don't know. But the oil's gone up, so the petrol and diesel must be going up as well. But as I say, to see petrol now over 170, I can't remember the exact figure and I don't want to mislead, but it's not specific to your area. Hi, Greg. If you could let your listeners know to make them aware if getting a passport signed off in the local Garda barracks. Well, I know all about this and I haven't read the whole message yet. I had got my son's passport form signed at the start of June in our local barracks. The said barracks is rural and not manned every day. I checked the progress of the passport online yesterday and quickly got an email to say the passport application was declined due to them not being able to get anyone in the station. Hence, a new application had to be submitted. You can understand how frustrated this is, especially when you're on a time schedule. Please make your listeners aware that if they require a passport, they would be better to go to one of the main stations, Ballyshannon, Letterkenny or Buncrana, to avoid disappointment and distress. I wouldn't like anyone to feel the pressure I'm experiencing right now. I feel your pain because I went to a big station, Donegal Town, and this is not a criticism of the Garda, it's a criticism of myself for not understanding the process. I thought everything was fine, was watching the little bar go up, go up, go up, go up, go up. We were potentially going to go away if this came through. We were leaving our options open. And next thing you know, the bar went back to zero and I was told that they couldn't get through to the Garda. I think you're far better off if you can to go... What do you call those people again? Can't remember their names. Something of oaths, if you know what I mean. Or someone else, a teacher or someone that you know that will be able to take the call. Because if the Garda, and it's no fault of theirs, it is the specific guard that has to speak to the people in the passport control. I think they ring them a couple of times and if they can't get through, that's it, kabunk. So... I went to it's not 24-hour station, but there's always someone in there, seemingly. And I also had your pain. I didn't get to go away, and that boat sailed now, literally and metaphorically. But there's just a wee piece of advice for you, because you think things are going well. Barry's not through, by the way, Caroline. So I don't know if he's on a phone line or what the story is. You're on board with the witch hunt conspiracies, then the man's broken multiple laws and he's been held to account. He's not above the law. Now, I'm not really 100% sure what that means, but I read it for fear that someone might think that I'm being a bit selective in some of the comments that I read. I wonder if you could ask the Gardaí about how legal electric scooters are on footpaths. My wife and I were close to being knocked down twice on Sunday last on Buncrana's Main Street footpath. We phoned the Gardaí, who told us they have no power to stop these scooters. Can you get clarification from the Garda on your slot, please? Well, we can throw it out there. At the moment, they're illegal. You can't cycle or ride electric scooters at the moment. There is no law governing them as such. You can't... In terms of things being on the footpath... it's even a little bit convoluted as it relates to bicycles, let alone scooters. But listen, we'll try and get some clarity for you on that. We'll put a few calls in as we always do. Right, okay. Barry Murphy is Deputy News Editor of the Irish Farmers Journal. He joins us now. Barry, how are you getting on? Thanks for taking the time this morning.
No problem at all. Thank you for having us.
Right, okay. You've been looking at internet black spots and they're locking out Western farmers as so much has to be done online now. We get it all the time. Great to see you platforming it too in the Irish Farmers Journal. So what was this report all about in more detail, Barry?
Yeah, look, we've had kind of information or data highlighted from the census by the Western Development Commission, and they've pointed out that there's still huge internet black spots in the West, where we're seeing lots of rural dwellers, and as the policy analyst Deirdre Frost from that Western Development Commission pointed out, they're often rural, they're often older, and particularly so for farmers. So we're seeing about 12.6% of the households in Donegal currently going without internet of any shape or form. And in this day and age, that's so far behind the say, for example, Dublin City has about 6% only of households. And actually, interestingly, even Galway City is right down at 3% of households going without internet. So Donegal nearly has 4 times, say, as many households going without internet than the case is in Galway City. The country's worst black spot would be in County Leitrim, where 14.4% are going without internet. They even say Cavan there 11.9 and Monaghan 13.1. So still quite large swathes of those counties going without any connection at all. And what it's meaning for farmers on the ground, the business of farming, it's gone more and more online. So the schemes farmers apply for, that all has to be done online. Things like registering calves, conducting their business, it's all requiring an internet connection. And what's happening is those farmers without that broadband are finding themselves having to avail of advisors, which comes at a cost and again takes more away from farm income. So those farmers, particularly, we all have an elderly, be they grandparent or a relative who has an internet connection that wouldn't be all that good at using a computer, and those farmers are kind of being left behind. And it's the schemes, but also then it's the other types of uses. We see internet being used for on farms, the likes of calving cameras. So a camera that a farmer can check their cows at 2 a.m. to see what's calving or what isn't. And by having a calving camera, they can stay at home. They don't maybe have to drive to the farm or walk down in the middle of the night. Whereas without internet, those things aren't possible.
Yeah, and it's about computer literacy as well. This doesn't tell us really how many don't have access to the internet, even if they have broadband to the house, because they might struggle with using a computer. So, I don't know, could you double it or whatever? We don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but this is 12.6 without access to internet. So it's going to be a greater number that struggle, even with access to the internet, to engage in modern day farming.
Absolutely. And the Western Development Commission pointed out, that there's a lag time as well between internet being rolled out in an area and uptake from those living in it. So while the National Broadband Plan is hitting Donegal, there are delays, and the Commission is basically calling for there to be an expedited rollout. But it's saying that farmers particularly and older people are left behind in that rollout because they, I suppose, aren't getting the information they need about when it's coming and how to connect and so on. And they're calling for greater engagement with that community. But you're spot on. Once internet is there, that's maybe half the solution. The other part is, I suppose, education around how to use technology. And look, farming is becoming more and more educated. It's one of the most educated workforces in the country. But that's the younger farmers in particular, and you'd see it maybe particularly in the dairy sector. But the small, older suckler and sheep farmer in Donegal, wouldn't be part of that kind of cohort that is really moving on in terms of innovation and technology. And I suppose there's a body of work to be done to ensure that they come with the sector in that. We're speaking to the Department of Agriculture on it as well. And just, for example, before scheme deadlines concluded there in June, there was 23,200 calls made to the department help desk, and a lot of them were to do with the ins and outs of how to apply online. There was clinics set up across the country, and I think one up in Donegal as well. The department went that far up, and there was 3,200 farmers engaged in one-to-one meetings with department officials to get kind of that information, because look, it's important that farmers don't miss out on drawing down their maximum payments. And a lot of those schemes at the moment are environmentally based, and they're quite technical. There's a lot of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, and it's all done through a computer now. And look, we want to just make sure that farmers aren't left behind in that one. Yeah, and I mean, it also talks to rural life, people feeling they have to book their bus tickets online, to buy tickets for a football match, or even the ploughing championship for that matter. Do you know what I mean? It really is a disadvantage to an awful lot of people, more than are caught in these figures. But listen, thank you very much indeed. Full coverage in the Irish Farmers Journal out today. That and much more. It's a big paper and very popular paper, Barry. It's gone from strength to strength. It's bucking the trend in that regard. Fair play to the team. It is, yeah. No, it's we're the most read paper in the country over Thursday. So that's we're increasing our readership. Look, it's a loyal older reader in particular would be the one buying the paper of a Thursday. And so look, as always, we're grateful to our readers, but plenty of reading in this week's paper for sure. Yeah, all right. Thanks very much indeed. 086 60 25,000 if that's something that resonates with you, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, whichever is best for you. Okay, we're going to take a break for the news and obituary notices, and then we'll be right back thereafter.
Waterworld Bundoran is back and it's open every day for summer 2023. Experience the 3-lane multi-slide, the Whizzer, the Wave Pool and Rapids, the Twister, Tornado and Gravity Speed Slides, the Pirates Galleon Ship, as well as our brand new gift shop. Booking essential. Get your tickets now at waterworldbundoran.com/booking and find us on Facebook and Instagram.
McElhenney's summer sale has just gotten bigger and better. Don't miss out on amazing offers with up to 50% now off fashion, kids, home, jewellery and cosmetics. Shop our summer sale in-store at McElhenney's department store Ballybuffet or online at mcelhenneys.com.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news in full at 10 o'clock. There is a warrant out for the arrest of former Sinn Féin official after he failed to appear in Derry Magistrates Court for child sex charges. 41-year-old Michael Gerard McMonigal of Limewood Street, Derry, is facing 3 charges. Tara Duggan reports.
Alison Morris reports in the Irish Times that McMonigal is accused of attempting to communicate with a person under the age of 16 for the purpose of sexual gratification, attempting to cause a person under the age of 16 to look at an image of sexual activity, and attempting to incite a person under the age of 16 to engage in sexual activity. He failed to turn up to court yesterday morning because of a flat tyre around a half a mile away. While he said he would be there soon, his defence solicitor could not make contact with him. District Judge Barney McElhone said the former advisor at Stormont could have walked and said he has his head deeply in the sand. A warrant for his arrest was then applied for to be issued.
The opportunity will be made available for those who did not receive the HPV vaccine. The free programme is aimed to those over the age of 16 and were previously eligible. It runs until the last month of this year. 2 clinics will be running in Letterkenny this month at the Immunisation Department of St Connell's campus. The first on August 8th and the second on August 22nd, both from 9:30am to 4:15pm. Dr Ida Nick Donica says the catch-up programme has been named in honour of Laura Brennan, a young woman who lost her battle to cervical cancer.
Laura Brennan was a young woman who, at a very young age, died from cervical cancer. And during the final stages of her illness, she was a very, very keen campaigner in favour of preventing cervical cancer and therefore promoted the HPV vaccine in particular. And her slogan was, get the facts, get the vaccine, and get protected. And that's my message to everyone here today.
October's budget could be a generous one. Exchequer figures for July showed yesterday that the tax take-up is 10% on the same time last year. Just under €48 billion was collected in taxes in the first 7 months of 2023. Economist Austin Hughes says we could see more money given away on budget day.
These numbers suggest the government has the capacity and may have increasing arguments to do more in the budget than perhaps it planned. The economy is doing okay, but there are several risks to it. The greater risk for the government might be that it does too little in the budget than it does too much.
On the same night that Rafo and Castlefin in Donegal was hit by flash flooding, Castlederg was also impacted. Derry City and Strabane District Council is hoping to have meetings this month with statutory agencies to discuss the flooding risks in the area. At a meeting of council last week, Derg Area Councillor Rory McHugh asked that a meeting be arranged as quickly as possible. This week he's been told it's hoped discussions can take place before the end of August, but no date has been set. He says some of the areas are already susceptible to flooding and it's feared the situation may worsen.
I have held site meetings previously with some of the statutory agencies in some of these areas that have flooded before. So while the weather was unprecedented, some of the areas have flooded in the past, and obviously that is the fear now, particularly with the onset of climate change. I have been liaising with council officers, pressing upon them and in turn seeking assurances from the statutory agencies that this meeting that I've asked for will take place sooner rather than later.
Round 0 CAO offers will be given out to applicants today. This round is for graduate medicine applicants, some mature students and some PLC graduates going on to university. It comes after Round A offers were handed out to some mature students last month. Brian Moody, career guidance counsellor and education columnist, explains what's next.
And then we move on in 3 weeks' time to what is called Round 1, which in many ways negates all these mature people and PLCs, but that will be in 3 weeks' time. So this morning, it's good news for those 5,000 plus people who will get their offers about 10 o'clock.
Looking now to the weather, mostly cloudy with good dry spells and scattered showers. Some sunny spells will develop, especially towards the evening time. A fresh day with highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees and blustery northwest winds. That's all for now. The next news update is at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Thursday morning, August the 3rd. The death has taken place of John Jim Pat McFadden, late of Roscad, Creeslaw. Wake is taking place at the home of his daughter Angela, opposite the family home on the Carrigard Road, Roscad, Creeslaw, from 2 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Doe Graveyard. Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Lake House Comfort Fund, care of any family member or James Harkin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Father Henry S.J. Grant, Milltown Park and formerly of Buncrana, County Donegal, Belfast, Portadown and Asunción, Paraguay, reposing at Cherryfield Lodge from 2:30 this afternoon with prayers at 4 o'clock. Funeral Mass in Gonzaga College Chapel tomorrow morning at 11:30, followed by burial in Glasnevin Cemetery. The death has occurred of May Derry, Apartment 2, The Beaches, Ballybuffet and formerly Donegal Road, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at her late residence this morning from 11 o'clock. Funeral leaving from her late residence on Saturday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorder at 11 o'clock. Cremation afterwards in Lakeland's Crematorium Cavan. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam at churchservices.tv. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to Barnesview Ward, St Joseph's Community Hospital, care of any family member. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Tony Boggs, 20 Ingleside Drive, Strabane and formerly of 14 Dergalt Road, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home on Saturday morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Derry Road at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Strabane Cemetery. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death occurred on July the 2nd of Tessie Dolan, née McHugh, 23 Trainamongan Road, Ahiarn. Tessie's month's mind mass will take place tomorrow evening in St Patrick's Church, Ahiarn at 7:30. And the death has taken place of John Hegarty, Mina Largan, Glenties and formerly Mina Wania, reposing at his daughter Eilish Gilday's residence, Stranaloch, Glenties. John's funeral will take place tomorrow morning in St Connell's Church, Glenties, with Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the local cemetery. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The environmental emergency. With the problem this big, where do you even start? How about right here with SuperValue? Every time we buy from our local producers, every time we cut our food waste, every time we pitch in for our communities, that's real action. Let's forge a more sustainable future from our own homes, stores and towns. Because at SuperValue, we believe that every local action makes a global impact. SuperValue. Real food, real people, real action.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, 8 minutes past 10 this Thursday, the 3rd of August. Good morning if you're just after joining us. You missed out on the first hour, which you can always listen back to on our podcast, available from about 1 o'clock on our website. You can watch back anytime on YouTube or Facebook, of course, and we rebroadcast the show. At what time, Caroline? I'm normally in bed. 12 or 1? Is it 1? It's 1. 12. Is it 12? Well, maybe I might be up for the first half hour if I could tolerate it. Anyway, there you go. And we do have a really loyal listenership overnight. People working different shifts, so those it takes a little bit longer for them to nod off. So particularly if you're listening in the early hours of Friday morning, a very good morning to you, and thank you for listening back to the 9 till noon show overnight here on Highland Radio. It's good to have you on board. And tomorrow we are on the road. In fact, I'm hitting the road later today, going to beautiful Dunlow. Can't wait to get over to see everyone as part of the Mary from Dunlow Festival. And we're broadcasting the show live tomorrow morning. And it's the regular show for the most part. 9 and 10, we'll have our Friday panel. Michael and Fanula will join us later on. But we've got lots of guests and what have you. I guarantee you, though, unlike David James yesterday, I won't be singing. Sorry to disappoint you, but we will have we'll have plenty of crack, as well as making sure you're across all the important stories of the day as well. So stay tuned for that, and all going well, you'll be able to watch that show live from Dunlow as normal as well. That's the aim anyway. That's the game. Right. We have a big announcement a little later on, Caroline, on the show as well. Do we? Later on in this hour? Caroline, she's not listening to me. She's talking to someone. I think we do. I think Sean Quinn's going to join us with some news. We'll give you more details on that a little later on. Hi, Greg. The network around Newtown Cunningham is terrible, and that's every network. You do get black spots, all right. And also, too, what's a little bit frustrating, areas where there are lots of holiday makers. You know, the phone service, mobile service can be okay most of the time, but as soon as visitors arrive, it doesn't have the content ratio to accommodate all the bandwidth to accommodate all the phones in the area, and people's can have hit and miss service then over the summer, and then it returns to okay in the winter. I want to thank Rosemary, who quite rightly pointed out it's a peace commissioner or a commissioner of oaths. That's the name of the alternative witness you can get for much of what's on passport. Broadband, every road in the country being dug up with broadband. The last 10 years or more, hundreds of millions paid out. A joke. I don't know. I think it's good that people have access to proper broadband, particularly in rural areas. But if that's, maybe you're talking about the cost of it, I'm not sure. Maybe if people take a picture of forecourt fuel prices and send them in, we can see who's charging what and where. There is a picture sent in. Diesel 163.9, petrol 172.9. It's kind of difficult for us to do that on the radio because we can't do it fairly in that maybe one petrol station got a delivery today and a neighbouring petrol station doesn't get it to the day after, and, you know, we could be seen to be giving one a competitive advantage over the other or not telling the full facts. But certainly, I'm surprised someone hasn't created a Facebook page or something that gets that information out there. I was in a supermarket in Buncrana, says this listener. I witnessed a boy in through the shop on an electric scooter. Allowed in the footpath is one thing, but inside the shop, what is going on? Greg, I went to Letterkenny Garda station to buy first-time child passports, all back within 3 weeks. That is fantastic. But if the guard that signed those forms was off the following 2 weeks, you would have had a problem. And it's not the guard's fault either, by the way. They can't sit there by the phone. But I was caught out by it, and an earlier listener was as well. It's not the guard's fault. They're doing us a service, and there's no guarantee they'll be there. But if they aren't there to verify that it was they that signed it, you have a problem. Hi, Greg. Applied for my new passport online on Sunday. Guess when they received it? Tuesday. That's fantastic. Obviously, a pretty straightforward renewal, but great to see the system works. I see a similar problem with my daughter's passport. We found the issue was that the Gardaí are not making the stamp or signature clear enough to be used. The speed limit on the Leck Road went from 80 to 60 kilometres per hour, and now it's changed to 50 at the play school. Would they not put ramps outside there as well? It would be a good job. Just past a petrol station, 171.9 for petrol. Mental, they say. Yeah, it's going up again, isn't it? It is going up again, and we're going to go heading into another winter where we're going to have to worry about all those little bloody charges and increases. That on top of the things like Back to school, Christmas just around the corner too. I'm not trying to be depressive, by the way, or depressing. I'm just saying that's how it feels. Shall we do a couple of requests now before we take the bingo numbers? It is jackpot day today, so by the way, get your pen out, get your book out. You're supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. It is a huge part of their fundraising effort, so thank you, all of you, for buying your book. It's €5 a week, and you get to play 5 days, so it's €1 a day. We've got hundreds of euro in cash prizes every day. It's won all the time. We don't necessarily bang the drum hard loud, but it is. There are people winning money all the time, and that jackpot is ready to go hopefully soon on a Thursday. And it's not a club, or it's not like I wasn't there at the start, I can't play bingo. If you're in a shop, many of our retail partners across the Northwest, and you see the Radio Bingo books, pick one up. And you can start playing straight away, start of the week, midway through the week, just on the Friday. Now, you'll only be paying for Friday, but you get my point. Everyone can play. And as I say, you're supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. Before we give you those numbers, these requests, please. John Doran. Hiya, John. He's in Newtown, Cunningham, and celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday, John. Coming in from Kevin, Fiona, April, Ben, and Matt. To Dennis and Kathleen Roper, celebrating 2 occasions today. Kathleen's 70th birthday and their 50th wedding anniversary. So they got married on Kathleen's 20th birthday. Isn't that lovely? We'll see you later for cake. Love from the girls, Lindsay, Denise and Jenny. And a happy wedding anniversary to the best Granda and Granny, Dennis and Kathleen Roper. And happy birthday to Granny Kathleen too. We can't wait for cake from grandkids Jackson, Bonnie and Reuben. A lot of cake loving in the Roper household, it seems. That is what they're going to do today, just eat cake. Any other requests or dedications, feel free to get them into us, and we'll be more than happy to say hello to someone special to you today. All right, back with more after the bingo numbers. Stay right where you are, because we have another interesting guest on the way.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 3rd of August, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €19,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 31. The jackpot number is 1. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 84, 76, 66, 52, 79, 20, 24, 45, 38, and finally 1. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Imagine a dream wedding on a lake, all-day casual dining by a magical shore, fine dining or glorious afternoon tea surrounded by beautiful mountains, or a fabulous bar filled with music, laughter and song. Imagine no more. Harvey's Point, Loch Esk, Donegal, 07497222208 or harveyspoint.com. Close by, but a different world.
Are you looking for a career change, or have you always wanted to gain a third-level qualification? At Atlantic Technological University Donegal, we can help you. Study our part-time Bachelor of Business degree using a blend of online and in-person lectures. Build skills in management, leadership, HR, finance, business law, and much more. With advanced entry options available, find out more and apply at atu.ie/business. ATU. Develop the skills you need to stand out.
Right. This is totally random, but if you don't ask, if you don't ask and all. In other words, if you don't ask, you don't get. Okay, I'm a native of Milford and I've been living in Kildare for a number of years. I'm moving back to Donegal and would love to rent a house in Loch Fern Heights in Milford, and I'm hoping Highland Radio can help. My sister and cousin live there, and I've noticed that there are a number of unoccupied houses on the estate. Do you know if any of them are available for rent? I can't find anything online, but I have a feeling it could be a matter of who you know. Anyway, I'm looking forward to tuning into your station again very soon, as I plan to move home in September, and cross my fingers that I get settled in somewhere soon. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it's pretty random. I just thought I'd take a chance, and you may know something or someone that could help. Warm regards from Emma. Now, I don't personally know the answer to that question, but perhaps there's someone out there that might be able to assist. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call in 07491 25,000. And just a reminder for you that you are free to watch the show as well as listening to it. The overwhelming majority of you listen, but we do have a large and very loyal watchership. That's the opposite of listenership, who tune into our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your phone, tablet, laptop, your smart TV through the YouTube app, or indeed your Fire Stick. The BBC covered Sunday's All-Ireland football final, and the viewership actually rivalled that of RTE in terms of viewing figures and fans' reviews. Now, don't forget, it was on a Sunday afternoon on BBC Two, but it was for the first time ever the BBC broadcast the GEA final in both Northern Ireland and Great Britain, and viewing figures peaked at 800,000, which is not bad. Dublin, of course, beat defending champions Kerry in the closing stages. RTE figures showed that an average of 971,000 were watching their live coverage of the football decider on TV, while there were 181,000 streams on the RTE player. Line of Duty star Adrian Dunbar and new Late Late Show host Patrick Kilty appeared on an extended BBC panel alongside Dara O'Brien, Dara O'Brien, isn't it, the comedian, and Paul Mescal, who is also pretty famous. He's been in a lot of shows. Okay, we are going to be joined by our next guest on the programme, but first let us take and catch up on this quick break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Get a great Clarence gift this week from McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Buy 2 Clarence skincare products, one to be moisturiser or serum, and you'll get a choice of 3 treat-sized essentials from a selection of 10. Which 3 will you choose? This great Clarence offer is available while stocks last, in-store at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less. For any skincare advice, call in and talk to the resident skincare consultants, Mary or Gemma.
New €50 per suckler cow scheme opens. For more in your Farmer's Journal is Paul Mooney.
We have all the details of the new suckler cow welfare scheme open now. Weather causes Shannon farmers to lose 5,000 bales of silage and hay. We have the latest sheep price updates as breeding sales kick off. Internet black spots locking out Western farmers. Brussels green light for forestry grants. And Brazil planning to drive beef exports through the roof.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Balderdash, poppycock, porcupines, whispers, untruths, fake news, or as the kids say, cap. Seeds have been planted that Skoda has no stock. Let's put the rumours to bed. At Skoda we have Scala, Superb, Octavia and the fully electric Enyaq, all in stock, ready for immediate delivery and to drive home today. Visit skoda.ie to see for yourself. Skoda. Let's explore.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Call 074 9721
Oreo the robot is not just helping staff with service at Kelly's Diner, but he's also adding a little twist to birthdays there. If you're celebrating your birthday at Kelly's, Oreo can be persuaded to sing a very special happy birthday. It's a great treat for small kids and plenty of big kids too. For the chance to see and hear Oreo the robot in action, visit Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
Now, we're joined on the programme by Tony Canavan, who's CEO of Cialta. Tony, my apologies. I didn't realise you were there. That's my mistake. How are you keeping, Tony? And thanks for joining us.
Very good. Thanks indeed. Good morning to you, Greg.
Right. Now, the Health Service is issuing a warning to people of the region. Stay safe this public holiday weekend. Presumably that is to minimise pressure as much as possible on the Health Service.
Well, I suppose first of all, it's in the interest of the general public as well, you know, to make sure that people are safe. But yes, it does reflect what we expect or what we're planning, and we're trying to be prepared for health services over the coming weekend. We are expecting that things will be extremely busy, and that's across the range of health services, including general practitioners, including indeed pharmacists in the community, but of course specifically in relation to the Cialta Group, including our hospitals and our emergency departments throughout the region.
Right, okay. So there is also COVID-19 back circulating in the community as well. It has to be noted.
Yes, and we have seen, I suppose, over the last week, we've seen a couple of things change. One of them is the numbers of patients in our hospitals that have COVID-19, so those numbers have started to increase again. We have, we have a relatively small number. We have 12 people in Letterkenny today that are COVID-19 positive, and at that level, it's not really impacting on bed use within the hospital just yet, but it's because the numbers are increasing, and we see in other hospitals across the region, for example, in Galway, the numbers are increasing at a faster rate, and beds are being impacted. So we're being careful from that perspective. But also what we have seen is we've seen an increased number of patients in the last week of patients waiting admission on trolleys in our emergency departments, and Letterkenny has certainly featured in that regard. For the last 4 weeks, for most of July, for a good part of June and all of July, we saw that the numbers of patients awaiting admission on trolleys the trend was a downward trend, numbers decreasing. But in the last week, that has changed and shifted, which is concerning as we head towards the bank holiday weekend. Really, what you'd want heading into this bank holiday weekend is that we have that we go in on Friday evening with relatively quiet emergency departments, and that's just not where we're at right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be easing, as you would know, Tony. Programs like this and others, we're hearing horror stories all the time of people. We were chatting to one lady in her 80s from the emergency department that had been waiting to be seen with really severe head pains for over 24 hours. That's just one case. There are others. Why in summer, although you wouldn't know by looking out the window, why are we still seeing, particularly for older people, I find it quite bothersome, such long waits and delays in our EDs?
So the very first thing I would say, and I don't even really want to maybe to single out any one patient.
No, I just give that as an example.
But for any patient that spends time on a trolley in the emergency department, we certainly regret that, and would apologise to any patient that has had to endure those kind of circumstances. It's extremely difficult on patients, and it's also difficult on staff. I think while we see that the overall numbers have reduced and the situation has improved, as I say, throughout June and July, we still have significant numbers of patients waiting. Fundamentally, there is a capacity issue within our health services, and I described it in that way because we do need more hospital beds for sure, but we also need to continue to develop our capacity in the community so that more people can receive appropriate care, in their community, closer to where they're living, closer to where they're working, instead of having to rely for the majority of their care, rely on the hospital for the provision of that care.
Yeah, and we'll not get too deep into that, Tony, because I know you're busy, but people find themselves sitting in a hospital when certain services aren't even available. Could things like that be better communicated, do you think, so that, people aren't sitting there overnight, particularly if they're older, when, maybe there aren't the facilities there to check a fracture, for an example?
So I would say for sure what we see when our hospitals get extremely busy is that the normal kind of lines of communication they don't tend to function as well as they would in other circumstances. So when things are extremely busy, we do find that problems like that do occur, and people are sometimes waiting unnecessarily. I would also say, in fairness to staff working in Letterkenny University Hospital, that they are very attentive to the needs of patients, and they really do their level best to provide the best care that they can. But the pressure that hospitals are under do result in those kind of difficulties emerging from time to time. Yeah,
well, we get very little criticism of staff, and in fact, often patients, when they're talking about their own hardship, take the time to recognise how difficult a working environment it is for the staff that are generally quite kind to them. So, of course, this stay safe advice is in the interest of the public more generally, but there are occasions whereby you don't need to go to the ED. You would like for people to look at those options first, and what are they?
So the first thing we would ask people to give some thought to is think about what's in your own local community. Your pharmacy is a great source of advice and a great source, of course, of medicines and treatments and so on. So think maybe of your pharmacy as one possible source, depending on what your issue is. Of course, think about your GP and the out-of-hours GP service. We've put additional out-of-hours services in place over this coming bank holiday weekend, so people should give thought to that as a possible source for both care and advice and support. And then we are absolutely saying to people that if you have an illness or an injury that is, life-threatening or is an emergency, come into the emergency department and you will be looked after. But as I say, think about all of the other possibilities that are available to you if that isn't the case.
And do you just have details of those additional resources that have been put in place for the out-of-hours GP service? What does that look like?
What we've arranged is that the out-of-hours GP service in the Northwest, NowDoc and CareDoc, that they'll be open from 6 p.m. on Friday on August the 4th until 8 a.m. again on Tuesday, August the 8th. And, so that's a service that's there, and the details and the access details for those are on the HSE website, but CareDoc is at 0818 365 399 and NowDoc is at 0818 400 911. But, all of those details and helpful suggestions about care in the right place, right time, they're on the HSE website, so that's www.hse.ie.
And very finally, are you worried about the winter, Tony? We're having winter-like conversations in the height of summer now.
I think worried enough that we're starting to plan now for the winter. So we've just quite recently prepared a plan for this coming winter, which we've submitted, and a lot of that is dependent on us using our existing resources, both on the community side and in the hospitals, to try and align them as much as we can to the needs of patients as they're coming through. We've also been working on what's being described as a 3-year plan, not just a winter plan, but a 3-year plan, and I think that's a really sensible approach, because there are things that need to be done over the longer term that will help to make sure that patients move through our hospitals more efficiently and will receive better care. So that we're drafting and redrafting that 3-year plan currently, and we'd expect to have that completed by the end of August of this year, and hopefully that will help to move things on for us as well.
Okay, Tony, thanks for your time. Tony Canavan there, who's the CEO of HSE Hospital Group, covering this region, of course. 086 60 25 000. WhatsApps and text that number, or give us a call on 074 91 25 000. I've mentioned this for quite some time on the programme when we talk about the change in climates in different parts of the world. We hear, it might be a bit wetter, it might be a bit drier, or, we don't see massive extremes of weather, though we have seen increases in rainfall and the amount of sunlight as well. But generally speaking, it's steady as she goes. And that's not in any way to play down what might happen into the future. But what's happening in other parts of the world, which we don't see, and if we don't see, we don't necessarily recognise as much, is the extreme weathers in different parts of the world. There are very extreme, undeniably extreme weathers in terms of, torrential rainfall or extreme heat. And what's going to happen is, and there will come a time, and as I say, I've mentioned this a number of times, is that people are going to move to where they can live and operate day to day. And there's an article in the Irish Daily Mail along these lines today, and it reads, an expected influx of refugees who have been displaced by climate change to this country in the coming years poses a societal risk, a government report has warned. The National Risk Assessment, published yesterday, presents an overview of national level risks, drawing attention at an early stage to emerging trends and developments which could affect Ireland. This has included the identification of risks such as the UK's departure from the EU and pandemics, which were both highlighted in the National Risk Assessment 2014, with the housing challenge first noted in 2015. Under the title Societal Risk, the report warns recent increases in the number of migrants, with large numbers of people fleeing the war in Ukraine and availing of temporary protection, as well as growing numbers of international protective applicants, alongside growing numbers of non-Irish citizens employed in Ireland, underlines the importance of social cohesion and integration efforts. Over the long term, large numbers of people around the world are expected to be displaced by climate change. This means regions which are less impacted by climate change, i.e. us, or are more resilient to impacts, can expect to experience increased flows of migrants from areas where climate damage is more severe. So other parts of the world become uninhabitable in a comfortable way, and more people move to areas like where we are from our distance from the equator. And as I say, we've been talking about that for a long time on this programme, and a government report just published along those lines. Okay, Donna McDade is Enterprise Engagement Officer with the ETB and joins us now. Hi Donna, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, you were listening to our chat just before 10 as it relates to... Well, firstly, there are two issues here. The report was the amount of people don't have access to the internet, 12.6%. Now, that's whether internet's available or not. They simply don't have access to it. And I brought in the figure which we don't actually have, and that's people who may not be have the broadband or the IT skills to either set it up or to use it. The ETB can help in that regard, I'm told.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just by chance I happened to be listening to the radio this morning, and we can actually offer fully funded IT courses for the farming sector. So that can be for farmers themselves and their extended families. So in terms of what we can offer very basic IT classes where we're just showing them the absolute basics, getting email accounts, so on and so forth. And then we would also be able to offer slightly higher levels, and all our courses are all accredited. So not only will they come into the classroom, learn what they need to learn for their IT and digital skills, but they'll also get a certification at the end of it.
Yeah, because even if broadband's available, people aren't going to say, I'm going to pay 35, 45, 55 euro per month because I've nothing to plug into it, or I don't know how to work what I might plug into it. So again, you know, that's going to be well beyond the 12.6% that don't have access to the internet, I would imagine. I'm guessing here, Donna.
Yeah, no, we actually have a long-standing relationship with the farming sector in Donegal. We've delivered IT classes for farmers for a number of years now, and they're always very well attended. We can offer them county-wide. So say, for example, last year we had IT classes for farmers in Rafo, Stranorlar, Bundoran, Donegal Town, a number of different locations throughout the county. And we generally just run our IT classes for the farming sector from end of September to lambing season, which is in and around the St. Patrick's weekend, because once you've got the brighter evenings, you generally won't find a farmer coming to the classroom.
You'll not get them into the classroom. You can't even get them into the house, Donna, let alone the classroom.
Exactly. So
how does it work?
Said,
where do you decide to, I presume there are groups, it would be impossible, I'd imagine, to do it one-on-one, though you can correct me if I'm wrong, Donna, but like say...
They're normally...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, they're usually groups between 6 and 8, and as I said, we normally have between 6 and 8 groups running county-wide throughout that period of September to March. So they're nice small groups, so they're not massive amounts of people within the one class where it could be too much for some people. There's a lot of one-to-one tuition there as well. We actually work in conjunction with the department as well, where we actually have a mock site for the ag food, so we can actually show farmers how they do that 3-tier login process just to view their herds, apply for their compliance certificates, register calves, which I know Barry had mentioned in the interview as well. So it really is, it's a comfortable environment for them. They're evening classes, small numbers, and we can take for their absolute beginners right up to, say, level 3, 4, where we can be a little bit more detailed in maybe ICT skills and internet skills, but we also can offer a level 2 in social IT, which is all about using your phone for things that Barry had mentioned, for checking calving, online videos, and even just something as simple as taking a WhatsApp picture and being able to forward that on to someone else. So it really is aimed for that basic education level, for the lower skills, to help them bring up their digital skills and to help them around the farms.
Now, do you schedule these throughout the winter months you mentioned, Donna, or do you follow demand? In other words, say, for instance, 7 farmers got together in Killybegs and contacted the ETB and say, look, we'd be really interested in one of these courses now, whether it be in Killybegs or Donegal Town, who's to say. But is that an option whereby, a couple of farmers could get together and contact the ETB, or do you announce a schedule over the winter?
Either way works. Last year, that's exactly what happened to us with a group of farmers in Rafo. We did a lot of the agricultural shows last year just to promote the service and to let the farming sector know that these are all fully funded. And it was through just the attendance of them shows that we got people to contact us thereafter. But that's exactly how we had a little group that formed there in Rafo last year, and perhaps if they're listening today, that I believe they're looking to come back with us this September as well, because there is an element of the social factor there as well. Farming can be an isolated career, so we find that there's that social element within the classroom for farmers as well. And as I said, we always offer the farming classes as an evening course, so it could maybe be, say, 6 till 9 or 6:30 till 9:30, whatever suits that particular group. And as I said, keeping it in small numbers of between 6 and 8, it really is just that kind of like that one-to-one assistance and helping them to progress them skills that they need to help around a modern day farm.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me saying, it can be overwhelming when you if you've had no access to a smartphone or the internet. You might think, I can't even. But you take it off in bite-sized chunks. You learn what you need, and it's not beyond most people to be able to sort of do it. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to go through every element of it on a beginner's course, but you will teach people what they can use, and most would, I'd say, walk out of the building knowing what they need to know. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is people shouldn't be overwhelmed by it because you just teach them what you need.
Not at all. Absolutely not at all. It's a very friendly environment that we'll be bringing them into. It could be located in one of our vet centres throughout the county, but we also would use community centres. Say, for example, the Colgan Hall, Caramina Community Centre, and as I said last year, we were also in the Volt House in Rafo. So it's bringing it to their areas as well, because we know farmers are very busy, and as long as they're not having to travel too far to come and join us, there's the social aspect of it as well, and of course they're building their digital skills.
Brilliant. And that's the immediacy of radio, which is great. Less than an hour ago we were talking about how people might struggle with IT, and here we are now talking to you moments later about free IT skill teaching for farmers delivered through the ETB.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. All right, great stuff, Donna. Thanks for your time. Thanks for calling in.
Actually, just quickly, Greg, we're actually going to be at the Clemani show next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Nice.
We have a pop-up tent there, so if anybody has any additional questions, get them to come along and see us if they're attending the Clemani show. We'll be at the Ballyshannon show as well this year, or put my contact details on your website or list them podcast, whatever, and they can contact me via telephone, email, or come and see us at the shows.
Donna, you don't put the tent up, do you?
Yeah, well, we'll see how I get on.
I was going to say, it's never, whoever puts it up never goes in a pop-up tent, because it's far from popping up.
Okay. We'll have to see how I get on with that now on Tuesday.
There'll be some fellas, some women standing looking at 50 poles on the floor, scratching their heads for a couple
I might
hours
take a little
beforehand.
picture of that.
All right, listen, brilliant stuff. Thanks,
No
Donna.
problem,
Take care.
Greg.
Donna McDade there, Enterprise Engagement Officer with the ETB. So, as I say, it's free to the farmers. Hopefully now a few of you listening will go, right, okay, yeah, I could do that. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Some of your emails here. No, not emails, actually texts, Greg. Just a quick one. I know the hospital gets bad press sometimes, but I had to go to the ED yesterday, and I have nothing but praise and a great service from the minute I went into the door, getting the procedure done. Thanks, Letterkenny University Hospital. That comes in from John. And John, I really appreciate you sending those messages in. We do get them. We do read them out, because we're not here to, certainly not to criticise staff or even necessarily to criticise services. It's there to work with the staff, to work with the public, to get our fair share and to get improvements. Greg, the forecourt near me increased its price not once but twice in 1 week, so it's a rip-off. Nothing more to do with deliveries. Petrol in Moville 177.9 today. 20 minutes after the news told us the country is awash with money, we have someone from the HSE saying, please don't get sick because we can't look after you, is not quite what was said, but that's what you heard. I understand where you're coming from. A caller believes there should be priority for older people in the hospitals. Indeed. I don't know how that would work. And there is already a priority in terms of... it's not based on age, but it's based on need of treatment. When's the community hospital being built in Letterkenny? Where are they on these plans? This will be an extra 110 beds for the community. Well, the sooner the better. I'm not really quite sure, but hopefully work starts as soon as is possible, because it is a service that is required and needed. Right. We have in studio with us our very own Sean Quinn. Good morning, Sean. How are you getting on?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'll be better when I put the right mic up. Sean Quinn's head of sales at Highland Radio, and we are launching
a mega summer cash giveaway.
Just rotate that mic so the numbers are facing you. Yeah, that's it. No, that's just the sleeve. The numbers. B1, yeah. Now I can hear you. All right, this is the €20,000 mega summer draw. That's up for grabs as part of this. So, when's it launch? How does it work? What's the prize breakdown? Give us all the deets.
All the details. So we're launching it today. So officially from now, you can go onto our website and buy a ticket. And so it's €20,000, Greg. We've got 20,000 in cash to give away over the next 4 weeks. And every Friday, so it'll be the 11th of August, we will be giving away €2,500 on your show.
Oh, wow.
The following Friday on the 18th, we'll be giving €2,500 on around the Northwest. Following week on the 25th, David in the Jive Time is €2,500. And then the mega final fourth week, Lee will have €2,500 during breakfast. And then the big one,
10 grand.
€10,000.
Wow, fantastic. So here we go. If you get your tickets early, you're in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 draws. That's the bottom line. So if you're going to get involved early. We wouldn't discourage you from getting involved at any stage. But my point being, buy your ticket today. You might win on the 11th, the 18th, the 25th, the 1st. 12.5 grand to give away on the 1st. So the earlier you get your tickets, the more advantageous it is because you're in more draws. And even if you were to win, and I know you love this notion that someone's going to win on the first draw and then win the 10 grand, your ticket does go back. If it happens, I'll buy you a pint. It may well do, but we'll not overemphasize its possibility of happening.
Mathematically, it's hard.
It is difficult. All right. And this means that Fionnuala's going to whip out her trombola.
That's on its way into you.
I'm going to have to look at that for 5 weeks behind you and then for 6 months after the draw's finished. That's the way things work around here.
Until you shout and I actually come and collect it and take it out.
Until I take it out. Right, okay. So how do people get their tickets? What's the price structure, Sean? It's well established now at this stage and it works really smoothly.
It does, and it's very simple to do. Go on to highlandradio.com. It's flagged on the actual front page. You just click on the link and you go in and you can choose €10 for a ticket, or you can buy 6 for 50, or you can get 10 for €80.
So the more you buy, the cheaper you get. The most you'll pay for a ticket is €10. After that, if you want to group buy them and put different people's names on and what have you, they get cheaper then. And there's always a mix, isn't there? There's a mix of people who've bought them as presents, people who've put them their family names down, or people that have put their own name down. There's a nice mix over the years we've been doing this, Sean, of the winners, hasn't there? But they're always local.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think Newton and St Johnstone's kind of that's the hub where we've had a couple of winners there. But no, it's great because it's giving you actually 5 great chances. Now, you could go on a holiday, it help towards going back to school. It might do something in the house. Even 2,500 if you were one of those lucky 4 winners. And then, as I said, as you rightly said, if you win next Friday, your ticket goes straight back into the draw. So you've got 4 other chances after that.
So if you go onto our website right now, highlandradio.com, and of course, like everything, only if you can afford it as well and it's within your means. Absolutely. And you can have a little bit of fun with it. It's €10 for a ticket. You can get 6 for 50, 10 for 80. Personally, now this is kind of gaining the system because I'm tight, I would buy tickets with somebody else just to save the money on the tickets.
Well, that would be
How
good
tight
thinking
am I?
Greg.
There you go. Right.
You can share it. You can put the 2 names onto it.
Yeah, that's it.
Good thinking.
And you get your tickets cheaper then as well. And just to remind you of how the prizes are given away, next Friday, so this happens really quick, next Friday, a listener will win 2.5 grand on this show. The following Friday, John Breslin is going to give away 2,500 grand, £2,500, euro. Then the following Friday, David James on Jive Time, £2,500. Then the following Friday, which will be the 1st of September, Lee Gooch giving away £2,500, and then late euro. Why am I this obsession with pounds?
I don't know.
I haven't had a pound in my hand in a long time. And then later on the 1st of September on this programme, another big prize. This one, €10,000. If you get your tickets between now and Friday week, you're in all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 draws.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Now, we were talking about access to the internet and all that, and we're acutely aware of that. So if people ring up, we can accommodate that as well, ideally online, but we don't want to leave anyone out, and even people can call up as they have in the past if they want to do it that way. But again, obviously it's more convenient online, but we aren't going to leave anyone behind. Sean?
No, definitely not. No, so they do want to ring 07491 25,000. If I recall last year, I think our phones went completely and utterly mad
melted,
on the Friday.
Didn't they?
So if you can get in early before Friday, it'd be great. It would just help us out. But you have a full week now from today to try and either go online, or you can ring Katie, and we'd be delighted to look after you.
All right, so if you get onto our website right now, you can't miss it. It's there. It's the Mega Summer Draw, 20,000 to win this summer. And as I say, over the course of 4 Fridays, €2,500 to each lucky ticket drawn out of the Trombola. And on the 4th Friday, 10,000 also being given away. Did you enjoy your little trip to Dunlow yesterday?
You're going to love this one now.
The place was empty. I'll be sitting in Dunlow on my own. David James goes to Dunlow. There's not a sinner here.
I say there's nearly 500 people there yesterday.
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
But you're going to love this, Greg, because I've actually got a big thank you to call out here to Rorty's service station in Dunlewy, because I was travelling down to yesterday's OB, and I got a flat tyre.
Oh, you did not?
I did, right. Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. And luckily, we got 1 bar signal on the phone, and we managed to ring Rorty's, who very kindly came and collected us and gave us a car to get down because we were pushed for time, and changed the tyres for me on the way back. So fair play to them. And I want to give them a shout out.
Before you do, you think
I was trying to get away from there.
No, you think that's interesting.
Go on.
Kieran Rorty is actually my next guest on this programme by pure coincidence.
No
on something
way.
Completely unrelated.
Well, he can.
So do you want to put your headphones on and thank him?
You can say well.
No, you can say yourself, Kieran. Listen, I'm going to come to you properly, but talk about coincidences, and this is an absolute coincidence that we had you lined up because I wanted to speak to you about a post you made. Sean decides randomly to talk about this heroic shop owner that goes and sorts him out, and lo and behold, you're the same person.
No, sorry, I can't take the credit for that.
It's not you.
It was Declan, my brother.
That's the same company, Kieran. Don't ruin the story. It's the same company. Come here, Kieran. Fair play to you and Declan. I'll come to you in a second, but thank you very much indeed. Sorry, you wanted to go on something else there, Sean.
I'd say they're going to allude to it. I just wanted to give them a shout out for their fun country day on Monday, just to give them a plug there. So I'm sure they're going to mention that.
All right, okay. So €20,000 up for, I hate the phrase, €20,000. I was going to say up for grabs. Can be won over the course of the next 4.5 odd weeks. If you want to be in all 5 draws, 4 for €2,500, 1 for €10,000, get on the website now, get your tickets, and the first draw will be on this show tomorrow week. I'll not be here.
Oh.
Do you want to delay it to the following Monday? No, or
are you sure you have the 10,000? Okay. So that's we'll save the big one to the best. How's that?
All right, okay, no problem. Cheers, Sean. We'll chat to you again. Right, Kieran Rorty is the owner of Rorty's shop in Dunlow. And we appreciate your engagement beforehand. But this is something that you've seen, and is it's disheartened you, I think, to use your own word. Kieran, talk to me about what has disheartened you.
Well, I have a shop here in a filling station at the bottom of Errigal in Dunlewy, and to be honest, what we make in the shop in the summertime ties us over in the winter time. As I said, the shop's busy in the summer, but in the winter it's very, very quiet. So we need a good summer trade to get the shop going all winter. And Glenveigh is a big, big attraction to us and a lot of people in the area. There's a lot of small businesses that depend on tourism, just like boats going to Gola, and there's different things, small businesses that only run in the summer, and they're depending on a good tourist season. And Glenveigh is supposed to be our trump card in the county. And it just annoys me when I seen the sign out the last day, telling people no entry. No, car park full, no entry. There's nobody there to explain to them where to go or what to do. And I sat and took that picture for 5 minutes, and there was cars coming as far as the gate, and they didn't know to turn, to go back. But I feel it's painting a very bad image for Donegal tourism. If that was somebody who came up from Cork or Kerry and they went back home and spoke to some of their friends who were thinking of going to Donegal, well, don't go near Glenveigh National Park because you'll not get in. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
And the sign simply said, what did the sign say, Kieran?
car park full, no entry.
That's it. Nothing else. Okay.
That's it.
No advisories to one in, one out, or nothing like that there. Just to... Now, there's no excuse for that, really, because with the right will, the right investment, there is capacity there to extend that car park.
Well, this, in my opinion, this car park problem has been there for the last 15 years. They did create 60 extra spaces this year, but it's not enough. It's clearly not enough. Clearly not enough. But as I said, it just pays. It's a bad signal to give tourists coming to the area. And as I said to you, there's a lot of small businesses depending on their summer trade to survive, to keep them going during the winter, like ourselves and a lot of small businesses. And a very negative thing. But there's a bigger picture out there too. We've got Errigal on our doorstep here. The car parking up there has to be addressed before somebody is seriously hurt or killed, because there's an accident waiting to happen there at the moment with cars parked on both sides of the road, and God forbid, it's only a matter of time before there is a serious accident there between children running across the road and trying to, all enthusiastic to go up Errigal and things, and they don't think about traffic. And the toilets at the bottom of Errigal is another big problem. We have the shop in Dunlewy, and we're providing the toilets for Errigal, which I feel we never turn nobody away from our toilets, but I feel it's something we shouldn't be doing. But we provide that service. I can guarantee you there in a busy day in Errigal, there could be up to 200 people use our toilets.
Wow, okay.
There's a bigger picture in West Donegal, and the back of Errigal Road has deteriorated terribly in the last while, and there doesn't seem to be no effort made to fix it either. And that's the main road into West Donegal.
Of course, Kieran, and you're a business, you're a ratepayer, you pay your water rates and all that type of stuff. I mean, you would feel and be within your rights to feel that you deserve at least the same sort of attention and support that a business in Letterkenny might get. So you're calling on local representatives to get on board with this. Have a look at the state of the road, the toilets, the facilities at Errigal. Ask questions as to why we are turning people away from the jewel in our crown. And as you say, no explanation. What kind of a message is that sending to tourists? And that money's being taken out of the area. Support the area. Support the park, and support the likes of your business in Dunlewy at the same time.
Yeah, that's my point, exactly. There's a bigger picture in West Donegal, and I feel that the councillors are they're not doing enough for the area. They're very, very quiet. You see some of the main roads getting retarred and everything, and you go out to Behack Errigal into the mess that's in at the minute, and then Glenveigh and Errigal. Errigal is one of the biggest attractions in the county at the moment.
Oh, for
you
sure.
go out there any time of the day now, and there could be 30 cars on each side of the road. There's an average of 60 or 70 cars parked there all the time now. Since they made the path, and fair play to the ones that organised that, the committee in the local area that set out that path in Errigal, it has made a wild difference to tourism on Errigal. But the infrastructure's there not to support it.
All right, Kieran, as you say, that you've mentioned the business side of it, which we really get, but also your concern for people's safety as well, which is paramount. So, Kieran, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate it, and I hope the right people are listening and something is done here.
Well, hopefully some of the council will take it on board now and try and push it on a wee bit, because, as I said, we've been talking about it for years and years, and it's time that some action was taken.
All right, Kieran, take care of yourself. Thanks so very much indeed. Okay, back shortly.
Shrink your bill this bank holiday at Dunnes Stores. Enjoy 20% off a fantastic range of wine and champagne, like 19 Crimes and Whispering Angel. Mix and match 3 for €4 on selected treats and drinks, like Tato sharing bags and Pepsi Max 2 litre. Plus, with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers, you save even more. Shrink your bill at Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
When you choose Chadwick's, you get the best branch network. Now get the best value with our summer sale. Wooden picnic bench set, only €99. Sorrento 8-piece garden table and chair set, now only €279.99. Super savings on Pro Plus garden tools. But hurry, they're selling fast. Plus, lots more offers on doors, floors, bathrooms and paint. Shop online at chadwicks.ie or visit your local branch. Chadwick's.
Let's get it done!
Get great menswear at greatly reduced prices in the big summer sale now on at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. Brands like Superdry, Penguin, Sixth Sense, Andre and Casamoda, all with 20% off. Choose from a selection of shirts, polos and t-shirts with up to 50% off. Suits also up to 50% off. And many more great savings throughout in the big summer sale now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and at watsonmenswear.com.
Country Cabaret and Dance is coming to Austin Alton on Monday 7th of August, featuring Mick Flavin, John Glenn, Seamus McGee, Ailish McBride and many more. Doors open at 8 p.m, show starts at 9. Tickets are €20 on sale at hotel reception or available at the door on the night.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
Usually, a radio ad is recorded in a recording studio. Today, I'm phoning this one in on my run. But I didn't want to carry my phone. So for the first time, I'm calling for my smartwatch. Because only Vodafone's one number lets me share my mobile plan and number with my smartwatch. So I can stay connected everywhere, even without a phone.
This is one number, only with Vodafone.
Available to customers on a 12 or 24-month Red Unlimited plan. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who are unable to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
The Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are on the road once again. Tune in this Wednesday at 2:30 for the Jive Time Show with David James, and Friday morning for Greg Hughes and the 9 till noon show, with both shows live from the heart of the 56th Mary from Dunloe International Festival to celebrate their fun-filled programme of events. Check out the full lineup on maryfromdunloe.ie. Brought to you in association with Kavanagh's Super Value Dunloe.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
And coming up very shortly, Paul's going to be joining us answering your gardening questions. Later on, Dave Coleman of Coleman Legal is going to be joining us in studio with an update on the actions being taken on behalf of homeowners affected by defective concrete. Stay tuned for that and so much more. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update. And it's good morning to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal deputy has accused the Irish government of sleeping at the wheel and sitting on its hands when it comes to tackling the rising cost of energy in Ireland. The comments were made in response to figures published by Eurostat and the CSO, showing while prices decreased for energy around Europe, that was not the case here. Deputy Pearse Doherty said it was unacceptable and scandalous. The opportunity will be made available for those who did not receive the HPC vaccine. The free programme aimed to those over the age of 16 and were previously eligible will be able to get the vaccine. 2 clinics will run in Letterkenny this month at the Immunisation Department of St Connell's campus. More details available on highlandradio.com. October's budget could be a generous one. Exchequer figures for July showed yesterday that the tax take-up is up 10% on the same time last year. Just under €48 billion was collected in taxes in the first 7 months of 2023. Greenpeace says 4 of its activists climbed onto the roof of the British Prime Minister's house in North Yorkshire this morning. They unfurled 200 square metres of black fabric over the mansion in protest at Rishi Sunak's plans to expand oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. A Number 10 spokesman says the government takes no apology for taking the right approach to ensure energy security. And finally, the greatest potential threats to Ireland have been identified by government. It's published a national risk assessment which cites 25 long, medium and short-term risks. Among them are climate change, inflation, the housing crisis, AI and the risk of another pandemic. Those are the latest headlines and next news updates at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like selected Coca-Cola 1.5 litre and Coke Zero 2 litre bottles, any 3 for €5. Selected goodies like Cadbury pouches and Hunky Dories, any 3 for €5. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
Right, okay, you're welcome back to the show. We have in studio with us Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochdarg Garden Centre. So if you have any questions about gardening, gardens, planting, potting, whatever it is, get them into us now, 08660 25,000. How are you getting on, Paul?
Not so bad, Greg. How are you?
You look very relaxed there. You like the new chairs?
Yes, very nice, very nice.
Okay. Purple's your colour.
Yes, getting an upgrade since I was last year.
I know, well, some might say they're an upgrade, others might not, but still they look pretty. No respite in this weather, is there?
No, absolutely none. Just gonna get disillusioned at this stage.
I looked at my yesterday I was looking at my, what do we call them? What's the flowers in the hanging baskets?
Yes,
fantastic.
Right.
Oh, so luxury. And I haven't watered them.
Oh, very good, very good.
And they're slightly covered. So whatever way the right amount of moisture is getting into them, they're massive.
Yeah.
Size of that telly.
Oh, very good, very good. So
really pleased with that. But what's happening with this weather in terms of how it's impacting? Is it impacting growth? It's obviously maintenance. It's not most pleasurable weather to go out and get on your knees, is it?
No, absolutely not. No, it's very good. It's, in one sense, it's good. Stuff's growing very well, if you know what I mean. Sort of
no pleasure to look at it, though.
Absolutely not. And even stuff like cutting the grass is very hard to get a dry couple of hours to actually get it cut.
Yeah,
as much as anything else. So, but you're not getting any time to sort of sit out and enjoy the garden at this time.
And we have officially the wettest July since records began.
Yes.
And I'm sure it rained before that, before anyone points that out. Raphoe, actually, the wettest part of the country, the entire country. The stats back up what we know. It's been piddling down for the last month.
Yes, absolutely. It's what the old thing was since Swithin's Day too. I can't remember what the whole thing about that was. Like, if it was raining that day, it's going to rain for 40 more.
Right. What's the good things that are happening in the garden at the moment then, though?
I suppose if you're growing food or that sort of thing, harvesting sort of coming on. The potatoes are actually, sort of most people's potatoes are ready at this stage. So they are. Stuff like that. Tomatoes are coming on nicely, so they are, but very hard to get them ripened because there's just not enough sunshine at the minute. It's the sort of sunlight levels are down.
Yeah.
Because everything's so grey and dull, if you know what I mean. But there's still plenty of good things happening. Still sort of getting into time where you can be starting to think about planting stuff for the autumn and that too.
Right, and you've given me the opportunity really to effectively be rubbing shoulders with Hollywood star Sarah Jessica Parker. You've brought up some spuds.
Yes, absolutely. What I got to see, she was saying one of the highlights of her trip to Donegal recently there was her new spuds.
You can't beat a good spud, can you?
No.
I mean, a spud to me has always been a spud. But, you know, I've started to speak to people now who, you swear they were talking about wine or coffee. Like
yes. They're connoisseurs.
Yeah, and some spuds are not great for younger people or older people, and all different types of good for mashing or not mashing and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a favourite spud?
Not particularly. Funny, new ones are grand because, to be honest, spuds I could nearly take or leave. A lot of the
Really?
A lot of the
No, you're wrong here. I mean, how many ways do I like spuds?
Yeah.
I don't like them boiled. I don't mind the wee ones if they're boiled, mashed with butter, salt, chips.
No, chips are hard to eat now. So it is.
Especially
but funny as a nation, I think we've got very born rare spuds in terms of. It used to be you had all sorts of varieties. Now 2/3 of every spud sold in Ireland's a rooster.
Really?
It's just sheer for the shelf life of them.
Okay.
So well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I saw a few videos on social media of flying ants, horrible little things.
Yes.
But now's the time for them to emerge from the shadows.
Yes, absolutely. What I got funny, we were working in Garda there on Tuesday, and it was the lady we were working for described it as nightmare fuel because they were just everywhere. Just at this time of year, flying ants come about in terms of they're just your normal everyday garden ant. But whenever the temperature's right and the humidity is right, they sort of decide it's time to breed. So they all sprout wings, basically take off. And
so your ants walking around the ground normally, they sprout wings?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then start flying?
The mature males and females sprout wings. They fly off and become romantic.
So it's the exact same ants?
Yes, exact same ants, yeah. And they fly about, and just then whenever they fly away to somewhere else, find a nice spot. And
This is why humans are useless, because when they start getting amorous, they download Tinder or something.
Yes.
Ants grow wings and
yes,
say,
exactly.
right, you know,
they're more proactive about the whole thing.
I'm going to do something about this situation.
Yeah.
But they come and go, and it depends on the weather, and they all sort of get the right signals from nature at the same time, don't they?
Exactly. Funny, it seems to be just everywhere at once that it all happens, but it comes and goes in one day, pretty much. Can be over a few days through the period, whatever that it comes to pass. But they won't do any harm. Like, they can be quite scary if you see the sheer volume of them.
And it's time for birds to fill their bellies as soon as they see them too. It's part of the chain, isn't it?
Exactly. And there's actually an interesting side effect of that. So the ants within their body produces some sort of acid, and seagulls particularly would be very fond of them. But the acid in the ant actually makes a seagull drunk.
Okay, so if I see a seagull stumbling, it's not that it's had half a bottle of whiskey. It's flying ants.
It's just flying ants. Basically, if you see seagulls stumbling about Dunlow tomorrow, it's not the festival. Getting the better of them.
And if a seagull sees me stumbling around Dunlow, can I say I've eaten?
Yeah, but possibly.
not that I would do that, of course. No, I get you. Do we deadhead wildflowers, and how do we treat them coming into the winter?
Generally, most wildflowers would be they're almost like perennials. Some of them will produce more flowers, but a lot of the wildflowers would tend to be just a once-off for the year. So, but deadheading them sort of keeps them tidier, it keeps them going longer. So it's worth doing anyway. Some of them will reproduce flowers, some of them won't.
Yeah, now questions coming in about flying ants. They're all over a wall at the garden. Can I do anything about them? They're going to go themselves. There's not really much you can do.
No, exactly. The key would be they seem to be attracted to silver.
Right.
Like, see a silver car, it'll be clattered in them. Stuff like that. And they're attracted to warmth and lights. So if it's evening time, shut the windows, because if you get a pile of them into the house.
Is there anywhere in Letterkenny that you can recycle grass and hedge cuttings?
As far as I know, Bryson Recycling, taking that sort of stuff, garden waste like that there. They are down sort of, not that far from here, just down Carnamugga there, where the ESB yard is over there. As far as I know, they do take it in.
Nice, okay.
Recycle.
Because you can produce quite a lot of that over the course of a summer, depending on how big your garden is.
Absolutely, yeah. So good. And they're connected to another company over by Pettigo direction, who actually mix the other stuff and actually reconstitute it into fertiliser.
Okay. My hedge had developed large brown patches. Does this mean it's dying, and can I feed anything to help?
Once again, probably depends on the type of hedge, if you know what I mean. If it's like the Lelandis going brown, chances are the Gristlinia hedges recently have been taking on a sort of a fungus attack on it, which is treatable just with a fungicide. But best thing to do is probably take pictures of it and maybe bring it to your local garden centre, just to get a more positive ID on the hedge and the problem.
Yeah, I get you. I have a peony rose. Is it too early to cut it back?
No, a peony should have flowered by now, so they should, and they'll be sort of dying back naturally. If it is looking untidy, you could cut them back.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to grow herbs, or herbs as some people call them. The American call them herbs, in my kitchen, but they're dying faster than I can use them. Am I keeping them in the wrong place? I have them in the kitchen window. It's kind of interesting because I bought these in little pots as well, and I thought, okay, right, buy them in the pot, and they'll keep replenishing.
Yes.
But as soon as whatever was in the pot, it just died.
Yes.
Now they're growing them themselves, but I've experienced this myself. I just thought I'd have an endless supply of herbs.
Yes, I know that. The herbs is sort of the supermarket ones we've had no wild luck with either. Like, even especially basil there, you'd buy it in a wee pot set on the windowsill, but it just doesn't seem to last.
It falls over.
Yeah, I think to a large extent, I think a lot of the sort of them ones are forced on very much with fertiliser, and once the sort of nutrients die off in it, down they go, if you know what I mean. So probably a more reliable way of doing it, it's a slower process, but we start from seed, and you would have the proper sort of varieties for these conditions.
But why would this listeners be dying? Because they are trying to grow them, so presumably they're trying to grow them from seeds.
Yes.
Kitchen window they're on, by the way.
Kitchen window, I suppose if you're north facing, maybe they're not getting enough light, but kitchen window should be fairly perfect for them, especially at this time of year. So it should be just keep an eye on the water levels. It's sort of not too much, not too little.
That's okay. But there's no really specific advice.
Nothing. Herbs should be quite easy to grow.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. What can you do with wild gooseberries in a hedge? Someone recently told me not to touch them as they're a weed.
Yes, wild gooseberries, you get the blackberries not grown as well, mostly come out of sort of farms of briars, if you know what I mean. You can cut them back if they're not attractive or not where you want them particularly. But in terms of that, if they're not being offensive, I would kind of leave them well enough alone, if you know what I mean.
So if they're not calling you names as you walk
pretty
past.
much, yeah.
I'd love to plant a holly tree. Is it too late? And what's the best environment to plant it in?
Yes, no, not too late at all. Holly trees, generally they're available in pots. You can plant it any time of year. Depends. a good variety of hollies going on at the minute. There you have the standard green one you see, or else you get a silver queen, which is nicely white and green variegated, and you get the berries for Christmas time, or you get a golden king, which is yellow and green mix. So now there's a good lot of varieties there and plant them anytime.
Right. Of course, this now we're coming into autumn. How do I best look after my lawn? Should I be doing anything or leave it be? I mean, it depends on where you look at. We're not in autumn yet. We could have, a fantastic last 3 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September. Like, we're still, I wouldn't give up on summer yet and start thinking about battening down the hatches for the winter. Would you?
No, absolutely not. You'd have to be hopeful. Yeah. So you would, and they reckon their new moon this week, I think. So hopefully better weather will come with it, maybe. But in terms of what to do, even in the autumn type, I suppose the most important thing would be sort of keep debris and leaves off it. Give it a rake every couple of weeks, just because that's what breeds moss.
Exactly, I was going to say that, because we will get, as sure as a gun fires bullets, when we start heading into summer, the issue of moss comes up. So in terms of, other than keeping it, keeping stuff off it, is there anything else we should be doing through the winter to inhibit the growth of moss, like poking holes in it or whatever that's actually called?
You can, as an aerator is the thing you use that takes the wee sort of plugs out, if you know what I mean. You can do that, which improves the drainage. If you give it a run over that there, leaves wee holes in it, and you brush over sand over the top of it, which sort of creates drainage holes within the soil and lets the moisture pass through, because generally the cause of the moss is it sort of being continuously moist over the winter time. So generally, if you can keep the moisture moving, it does help.
Yeah, and even cut back bushes or trees if it allows more light.
Yes, exactly. Because shaded patches tend to suffer more as well.
That's true. Yeah. When do you cut back rose bushes?
Rose bushes, generally you'd cut them back about October. Sort of, you have to keep an eye on when they're going to finish flowering, basically. But generally around sort of Halloween, you would give them sort of a light trim back to tidy them up and take the worst of the weight off them, and then maybe St. Patrick's Day gives the final trim to them.
All right. Someone sent in a picture of the winter planted onions harvest this week. Do you want to give them a mark out of 10 there? What would you give their onions out of 10?
Very good, very good.
Yeah,
yes, fine,
like
a fine crop there.
A fine crop. They say snails are their biggest issue.
Yes, snails can be all right. They can sort of tend to go at onions at this time of year.
What would you do with all those onions? That's a lot of onion.
That's the onion store.
Like, I like onions, but how long do they store for? Because the ones in my freezers keep growing.
Yes, no. If you
stems coming out of them.
If you dry them now and store them, you should theoretically up to next spring.
Well, why are the ones in my fridge growing?
They're probably never fully dried off.
Right.
I mean, they produce obviously probably on a more industrial scale, and they're sort of for immediate use, if you know what I mean.
And if I tried to grow one outside, you can imagine the disaster that would be. And there's one growing in the bloody fridge. Our garden has been taken over with this terrible weed. How do you suggest we get rid of it? I'm not sure. I haven't seen the weed, so we can't really answer that.
No.
What might it be? We don't know.
Possibly the big thing along the minute would be scotch grass, or they have creeping buttercup comes into it as well. So once you get another one, probably take a couple of photos and head to your garden.
I have 3 hyacinth bulbs in pot that I got as a present. They seem to have bolted and are drooping in full bloom. What can I do?
Generally, hyacinths, because they're produced to have sort of real impressive flowers, the plants themselves can be quite weak. So the best thing you do is, depending on the height of them, just get someone to stake them up, just to get the best out of your blooms, basically.
Yes.
Sort of stake them up. Even sometimes a pencil works, or something like that.
What veg do I grow in the autumn? Well, we've seen one spoiler there, onions, and you harvest them now. Great harvest there. What else?
Onions, garlic, peas, beans, and sort of any members
Does
of cabbage.
garlic grow above ground or below ground?
Below ground.
That's the root then.
Yeah, exactly. It grows exactly the same as an onion, basically.
Does
They're all
really?
the same family.
Okay.
So they are.
But you can get single clove, big lumps of garlic, and then you get ones where they're all in little compartments.
Yes, what do you got? The clove is a wee single bit, and the bulb is the big bit.
Right, okay.
There's loads of varieties out there. You can think called elephant garlic grows very big. I think that might be the one with just where there's a single on it.
Okay. All right, I think that's all the time we have. Paul, we will have you back in very soon, though. And again, just to encourage people to go along to your local garden centre. In Paul's case, it's Ballochder Garden Centre. Any queries or questions, call in. Chat to the likes of yourself and your colleagues and all the great garden centres we have right across this region. You love imparting advice.
Yes.
All right, Paul McLaughlin, thank you so very much indeed. And these, is it just spuds you brought up?
Yes.
And are they your own spuds?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
So what it was, me and my daughter planted them there just in the springtime. There,
brilliant.
We did a wee video of it, and it got about 900,000 views.
Oh wow!
So it's real sort of vintage tractor stuff, if you know what I mean.
Excellent. So there's a lovely wee thing for you and your daughter to do together as well. So how do you? I seem to recall from my childhood, the smaller ones then are seeds for next year. Is that it?
Pretty much, Yeah, you would keep a certain amount of the smaller ones back,
right,
and then just store them, and basically they become next year's seed.
And you just plant them as is, or
pretty much. And some even, like I say, we did that video, and there were sort of comments coming from all around the world, and a lot of places that had actually cut up spuds.
I was going to say cut them in half.
I cut them in half, exactly. Planted 2 halves, but around here we generally just throw in the whole thing.
Stuff in.
Exactly.
All right, brilliant. Paul, thanks very much indeed. I'll report back on your spuds.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Do you have your ticket yet?
€2,500 every Friday.
Plus a chance to win big.
10,000 cash money.
Get your ticket today.
Go to highlandradio.com. Summer's just got better. Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Looking for the triple black option. Vans Selden with a leather upper, only €60. Save €15. Adidas and Nike triple black trainers will have you ready for back to school. Kids footwear from Nike, Adidas, Asics and Vans in all sizes. Get the trainer that fits you best by using your safe size experience and get to know your feet. Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure. Click on bmcsports.ie and get your free delivery.
Wait till you CFC the summer sale at CFC Interiors. Unbelievable offers right across 3 massive locations. Get up to 50% off interiors, sofas, beds, flooring and giftware. And amazing offers on garden furniture and Weber barbecues. CFC Interiors, Cookstown, Campsie and Abbey Centre. Sale must end this Saturday.
At Centra, shop smart and feel good with great offers this long weekend. Like 7-Up, Pepsi and Club selected 12-can packs, €7 each. Selected chocolate, soft drinks and hunky-dory sharing bags, any 3 for €5. And Coors and Heineken 12 bottle packs, €15 each. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Looking to upgrade your home appliances? Irwin's Expert Electrical have you covered. Purchase any AEG and Electrolux home appliance and get up to a whopping €250 cashback. Planning to buy more than one appliance? There are multiple cashback amounts waiting for you. The more you buy, the more you save. Visit Irwin's Expert Electrical today and discover the amazing savings. Offer ends August 28th.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
You're welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show at 19 minutes past 11. Now, we are joined in studio by Dave Coleman of Coleman Legal. Dave, of course, has joined us a number of occasions remotely, and he's in the county today, meeting families, and took the opportunity to call up and say hi. So we really do appreciate that, Dave. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks, Greg. Good to talk.
Right, so you're meeting families today. Are these the sort of the initial cases, or families in general, or what's the story?
Today, over the next 3 or 4 days, we're meeting various stakeholders, families, people on the ground who are advocating for us. We're meeting experts. We're looking at properties that are affected. It's a sort of catch-up after our last meeting here in May. And the idea, of course, is just to let people know we're here, that we're not a remote firm. We're very involved with the community here. And it's good to be here and good to promote the EU Commission complaint as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But there have been various surges at different stages of this process in terms of people signing up to the case. Where are we at numbers-wise now? It was over 2, I think, the last time we spoke. Or we was heading towards it, at least.
Yes, it was. We closed at 2,600 and odd numbers, but it's still open to people to come. The difference now is that, as you know, it's a privately funded, not-for-profit case. But for people joining now, which thankfully they are, because they should, there's a signing-on fee of €500. In order to cover the expenses of the stamp duty and the drafting of the summons to allow them to join the group.
Now, in terms of, it's quite a complex document that people sign to get involved in this, Dave. Do you find that people want to get independent advice in advance, or do you recommend that, or what's the situation?
I think that if people aren't satisfied with the information, are not clear on what is being said to them, that by all means get independent legal advice. It's an important part of your life, this whole debacle with buildings in Donegal. And yes, we'd encourage people, if they're not clear on what we're saying, to by all means get independent advice. We would welcome that.
And just in relation to the costs, it's third party funded, as you mentioned. At any point, will if it's successful or otherwise, and we hope it is successful for obvious reasons, will there be any payments sought from those 2,600 plus that have signed up?
Yes, there will be. In the event that we're successful and the amount of what people receive is greater than the amount of the current available grant, then there is a small fee based on the difference only.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is, and if unsuccessful?
Then it's a walk away. We're very fortunate, and it's a first, that any participant in the case bears no risk on legal costs, which is contrary to current Irish law. But the way we designed the case and built it, there is no risk on costs for people should the case be unsuccessful, which, as you say, we don't wish to see.
No, we don't. And is it fully established now that this is a legitimate route? You would know yourself, there's some questioning whether or not third-party funding, this type of class action in a state, it's not a class action as such, but you know what I mean, it looks like one, but we don't have them in this country. Has it already been tested or proven that this can progress without that element of it being challenged?
Well, people, of course, any defendant can challenge any time they want. Now, this case has been extant for over 2 years. We're very, very advanced. We do hope to close the pleadings in October, which would allow for discovery, which would allow for a hearing date sometime next year. To date, there has been no challenge. Of course, people want to know, how is it funded, etc. It is not for profit. We're not hiding anything. We've nothing to hide. This is a community-based activity, and most certainly. Nobody has sought to challenge...
None of the defendants, which obviously the first port of call would be, well, we're not even going to enter into this process because we can prove that it is outside I mean, that would be your obvious initial first defence.
Yes.
If you were defending this. That would be mine in any case.
Well, yes, that application has never been made to the court. One defendant, I won't name them, they have... in their defence said that there is champerty and maintenance, which is what we're talking about, which means that if you have a financial interest in a case, it cannot proceed and you're not a party to it. However, our advice is that we are correct to proceed in the way we are. That's number one. Number two, whereas people have said things, they've done nothing about it, and the longer they leave it, the less likely it is that a court will entertain somebody who partook in the process and then laterally came across to raise an objection. People are entitled to raise whatever objections they wish, and we don't welcome it, but we don't fear it. We have a case to win, and we drive on.
The last time I spoke to you, and I don't expect you to remember all the timelines, but I seem to recall there was a significant element to the case the following Friday. Now, I can't just remember off the top of my head what that might be. Do you recall, and what came of that?
Well, there have been several milestones within the case. Laterally, the milestones have been the adding of additional defendants into the case, being, of course, Top Mix. Top Mix is a subsidiary, our sister company of Cassidy's, and we've brought them in because some of the clients have got receipts from Top Mix. There's another company, Moyle Plant, that has similarly been joined, and it is envisaged that there will be other defendants added prior to the case coming on for trial.
Okay. Is this complaint for all counties or just Donegal? I mean, it's really all affected homeowners, really, and not just homeowners. I mean, it doesn't have county boundaries, I presume. We talk about it because we were heavily affected here, but I presume there's no boundaries to this as such.
This is the European Commission complaint.
No, it's just I don't know. It's just
it is the European Commission complaint. Yes, anybody's entitled to partake in the European Commission complaint, but it is brought in the names of Liam and Grania O'Doherty, whom, of course, you know about as the lead plaintiffs, and Alan Bowl as a further lead plaintiff of 6. And what the Commission complaint is about is for the various breaches of European law that we say has occurred here in relation to the quality and the stewardship over the quality of the bricks. And second of all, and more importantly, which is not in the case, is the breaches of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. And there are two main ones that we are complaining about. One is the right to life. As these buildings deteriorate, they're becoming dangerous. It's a matter of time before there's a catastrophe. We don't want it. But absent people coming up with a realistic solution to this crisis. We fear for the worst and we must plan for it. The second is the Article 3, which is the right to integrity of the person, and that covers property and family rights. Now, it's quite clear that the breaches have affected people's properties. That's what this is about. But also the disruption to family life is massive. And it has gone unsung. And I suppose really we've a case to win, and the effects of it thereafter we will be discussing in great detail.
Yep. Now, of course, the government has found Ireland in breach of numerous aspects of law or people's rights, be it in terms of disability, in terms of pollution, whatever it might be, and really the sanction seems to be fines. But the government often is not very quick to sort of act on it, if you know what I mean. So, in reality, if this complaint is successful, can it achieve much other than financial sanctions and embarrassment of the Irish state?
Well, I suppose that the correct answer to it is that it's a multifaceted approach we're taking. That we believe that the people, mostly in Donegal, because this is really the epicenter of what is happening, that they should stand up for their own rights. And it's another way of, in effect, highlighting to Europe what has gone on or not gone on that should have gone on in Ireland. Yes, you're right that the Commission, they cannot make orders affecting the Irish jurisdiction, but what they can do is refer the matter onwards so the cases may be taken against Ireland. Now, I don't believe that Ireland wants this. We don't, as taxpayers, I'm sure, want it. And really, it is another way for people to vindicate their own rights through the European Commission, absent a proper solution to the problem on the ground.
Now, this is it is connected and unconnected to the High Court legal action we've already been talking of, as you just really effectively pointed to that now, in that it is part of the wider movement here.
Yes, it is. Another difference will, of course, be the reference in the complaint to the grant. The case, of course, does not comment on the grant system because a grant is a grant. It is not redress and it is not universal in its application. The complaint will say that it is limited in its scope, the grant, and that property owners who have the same rights no matter what property they have, they are being discriminated against by being excluded. And the second leg of that, of course, is what people are finding out now, is that the grant is not enough and it's not comprehensive enough to deal with the losses that people have, and many of whom are not in a position to make up those losses.
And we'll talk about how people can join that complaint if they wish in a moment. But are you surprised, given the fact that we have in this country of 5 million plus, in excess of 2,600 families involved in illegal action against the state and others over and sort of questioning a multi-billion, multi-annual scheme? The scale of this, you know what I mean? If you transferred this to the United States, for an example, the amount of people you might be talking about, that this is not huge news. Or maybe it has been, but you've got, this is an awful lot of people. These are families, not individuals, so you can multiply them by 3 or 4 perhaps. And it's challenging, as I say, the state on this multi-billion euro scheme. That's not the basis of the complaint, but I would have thought this is just too big to ignore.
Well, it probably is the largest case civil action been brought in the history of the state.
I can't imagine anything else, or I can't think of anything else that would rival this. But go ahead, Dave.
The resourcing required is massive. The effect of it will primarily, in our view, be limited to Donegal itself. Yes, the precedent may go further into other counties, such as Mayo, such as Clare. We don't believe, though, that the scale of the damage that has been inflicted on people comes anywhere near what we're seeing in Donegal. It is a one-off situation here. There have been attempts to deal with it by the authorities and, in effect, MAG, who were involved in negotiations. These negotiations, although well-meant and well-intentioned by people who've worked really hard, they didn't come to probably the outcome that people wanted. Having said that, the board of MAG now are full square behind the European Commission complaint, full square behind the case, and we work very closely with them because we believe that united we stand, And so all of what happened in relation to discussions and negotiations, really, it's in the past now, and we have to deal with what's in front of us, both in relation to advocacy for the grant, advocacy for the European Commission complaint, and of course our own advocacy in relation to the case.
Do you believe it is a complication if people say, right, I appreciate that this could go on for a bit. I'm signed up to it. I want to sign up to it, but I also want to see what I can get out of this scheme. So in other words, entering this scheme now and going through the process, even if you've signed up for this legal action, that's not a problem, is it?
We would recommend that people sign up to this scheme. Everybody has a duty to minimise their losses. If there are grants available and they're of relevance to a person, and they can in effect cure the problem, whatever their meanwhile losses are, they should do so. We actively encourage that.
And for those who are already struggling, the €500 or €600, I think you mentioned, to five to get, if they can't meet that, but they are still very severely affected by this. If this is successful, will people who are not part of this action also benefit? It can't be limited, surely, to those that have signed up.
I agree. And given the scale of the plaintiffs within the case, our view is that any settlement with the plaintiffs will, in effect, filter out to others. What we say, though, is that any settlement with the plaintiffs, now there's no offer of settlement, so we're in the fight.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Any offer will, of course, be relevant to those plaintiffs alone. Now, however, we are mindful of other people. What we would encourage people is not to hurl on the ditch, that they should get involved in this case. They need to stand with their fellow county people, their fellow victim, in effect, here. And we need to make sure that we get the result that the people are due. Yeah, OK. And if people want to sign up to Defective Blocks Ireland complaint to the European Commission on behalf of Donegal homeowners, there's a code that can be scanned here if you see the posters, but defectiveblocks.ie/EU petition. It costs nothing. It just lends your voice to this petition. Yes, they can get it with a mag, they can get it with the Facebook page for Defective Block, and they can get it on our own website. It is accessible.
All right, anything else you want to add, Dave, that I haven't touched on, I wonder?
No, not at all. It's great to be back in the county, even if it's a bit rainy, but it's drier here than Dublin.
OK, right, OK. Listen, Dave, thanks very much indeed. Dave Coleman of Coleman Legal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like selected Coca-Cola 1.5 litre and Coke Zero 2 litre bottles, any 3 for €5. Selected goodies like Cadbury pouches and Hunky Dories, any 3 for €5. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
Eating out later? Sister Sarah's mouth-watering menu is packed with tempting dishes and all-time favourites. Whether it's a special occasion or a private function, their party options and buffet choices have got you covered. Book now on 91222238. Sister Sarah's, serving food you love until 9 p.m. every day.
Is your car in need of a service? At iMotors, with our state-of-the-art workshop facilities, we offer servicing, timing belts, tyres and wheel alignment. Split your service bill over 4 payments with our bumper payment facility. Visit imotors.ie to book in or call us today.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Don't miss the 54th Clonmany Festival open-air concerts, including the High Flying Paddies and Johnny Brady. On Sunday the 13th, it's the Kilkennys, followed by Robert Mazzell. Don't miss these and many more open-air concerts at this year's Clonmany Festival, Sunday the 6th to Sunday the 13th of August. See clonmanyfestival.com. This ad is sponsored by Centra Clonmany.
Hi, I'm Mark Moriarty and I'm passionate about Irish beef. From a juicy fillet to a perfectly marbled ribeye or some versatile mince, it's as good as it gets. But just knowing it's Irish is not enough. I want to know exactly where it's from. So I love that all M&S beef is fully traceable back to the farm and even the animal, whether it's fresh cut steaks or ready meals and sandwiches. That means high welfare standards from M&S Select Farms with a quality you can trust. Because this is not just beef, this is M&S Irish beef.
Waterworld Bundoran is back and it's open every day for summer 2023. Experience the 3-lane multi-slide, the Whizzer, the Wave Pool and Rapids, the Twister, Tornado and Gravity Speed Slides, the Pirates Galleon Ship, as well as our brand new gift shop. Booking essential. Get your tickets now at waterworldbundoran.com/booking and find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hello there, Farmer Tinny here. It's summer, and Tinny's Toys have loads of swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, and many more outdoor toys and games. We've basketball stands, swing ball, sandpit diggers, kids' wheelbarrows, and when the sun finally gets out, we've loads of paddling pools. Of course, we still have what we're famous for, the largest range of ride-on and small farm toys and models in Ireland. Shop 24/7 tinnystoys.com or call into Leck Road, Letterkenny. Down by.
Andre Rieu's annual Feel Good event is back in Century Cinemas this summer. On the 26th and 27th of August, the King of the Waltz presents Love is All Around, a brand new concert filled with uplifting music, spectacular performances and romantic waltzes. Book your tickets now at centurycinemas.ie.
Don't miss the High Stool Profits live at the Highlands Hotel Glenties on Friday the 11th of August. Doors open at 8:30 with support act before the main show. Tickets available from ticketstock.ie or from hotel reception. The High Stool Profits, Highlands Hotel Glenties, Friday the 11th of August.
Right, Donald Trump's been indicted for his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. The third time in 4 months that the former US president has been criminally charged, even as he campaigns to regain the presidency next year. Larry Donnelly's a law lecturer to University of Galway and columnist, of course, at journal.ie. And he joins us now. Thanks so much for your time, Larry. I do appreciate it. And this is perhaps a more serious development for Mr. Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you look at what's contained in the indictment and the detail of the indictment, including what Donald Trump and his co-conspirators are alleged to have done in a variety of states, trying to influence the election, even when they knew that Donald Trump had lost, still trying to get their allies and people in positions of power to subvert the election result and effectively to upend America's constitutional order. It's a very devastating read, I think.
Is it politically motivated or driven?
Well, look, I mean, you know, of course, in the United States in 2023, absolutely everything has a political component, and it's impossible to divorce the legalities from political realities here. That all having been said, the objective truth, and again, most of the stuff that's contained in the indictment has been in the public domain for some time. The objective truth here is deeply, deeply worrying. And if you look at the statutes with which the president and his co-conspirators are effectively charged with breaking, you see a compelling case begin to emerge, leaving aside the politics of it.
Yes, and all that being said, though, we live in this strange political space now whereby he has the Republicans behind him. He is neck and neck with Joe Biden, and everything they attempt to try and stall him actually works to his advantage. So you have half America effectively saying, right, it doesn't really matter what it's accused of. It doesn't matter that we know it might be true. He's our man and we back him. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, there are some deep, rather dark truths at the heart of this, Greg, that you and I have discussed before. And when it comes down to it, about half of America, frankly, don't believe anything anymore. They've lost heart in the system. They've lost heart with the trajectory of the country. They want to turn back the clock. They don't like the way America is going. They're not optimistic for the future. So when Donald Trump said to them in 2015 and 2016 that he wanted to make America great again, when he spoke to them directly, when he made promises, albeit they false promises, they hitched their wagon to him. And to this day, they've remained steadfastly loyal to him, which to me, if you are a true blue conservative, if you do want to go on with Donald Trump's agenda, I don't know why they continue to hitch their wagon to someone, A, who doesn't really give a damn about them in truth, and B, is so torn apart by legal trouble and other personal scandal that he's probably the only Republican who Joe Biden could beat.
But no one can really step out and challenge him because they're shut down almost immediately. Trump is that powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the Republicans, I think you've seen some movement from some of the leading candidates in the past couple of days, some unprecedented movement, really. But they're very wary of offending that base because of how loyal they are. And the reality is, to win the Republican nomination first, they're going to need to win some of those people over. And then if they did get the Republican nomination, they would desperately need them to be on side enthusiastically in order to get over the hump against Joe Biden. So they're very wary on both fronts.
Is any of this legal activity, can it threaten Donald Trump's ability to actually contest the election? In other words, you know, even if he were found guilty, how long might that take? What sanctions might he face?
Well, I mean, constitutionally, this has been well rehearsed at this stage. There really is no constitutional impediment to Donald Trump running for president, even if he is convicted, even if he's in prison. But from a practical point of view, it may make it difficult for him to campaign fully effectively if these trials do happen. One is the New York trials in March. The documents trial is in May. We don't have a date for this yet. All of this stuff swirling could make it difficult for him to campaign. But the reality is, the more the legal trouble he gets in, the more popular he becomes with the Republican grassroots. So, really, we're in unprecedented territory, uncharted waters, all those cliches. That's where we are.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an indictment, really, of the way countries are run or people's attitudes towards, you know, government, civil service and all that type of stuff. I mean, he is speaking to a lot of people that just don't trust anything authoritarian.
Yeah, I mean, the United States, and I think this trend has become more dominant in recent years, is quite unlike Western Europe. To the extent to which there's an anti-government mindset out there, and part of that is Donald Trump's appeal. The fact that he thumbs his nose at federal and state authorities, the fact that he's played fast and loose with taxes, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas a lot of people here thought, oh my God, Donald Trump's not paying his taxes. That'll be the end of him. In the United States, that's almost like a badge of honor. It's a real cultural difference to how we see things on this side of the Atlantic.
Okay, thank you so much. Fascinating stuff as always. I know you're busy, so I really do appreciate your time. Take care, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Great stuff. Thanks.
Bye-bye. That's Larry Donnelly, who's a law lecturer at University of Galway, also a columnist at thejournal.ie. Let's get to some of your comments coming in this morning. Would it be possible for Highland Radio to get someone for the community, Department of Health, to update the community on when we can expect works to begin on our new community hospital for Letterkenny and Greater Area? Beds closed in existing community hospitals for HICWA renovations and staffing issues, yet the pressure remains on acute services. And that is, of course, only just one part of it. We need fully funded or properly funded home care packages and home helps and what have you as well. But that, listen, there's no doubt this community hospital will be of great benefit, you would hope. We are going to actually try and get an official line as to where it is at, what's the status of it. I have asked in the past, and there was talk of it beginning and opening in a short number of years, but I want something official rather than just trying to answer that question off the top of my head. A caller backs up the call for toilets at Errigal. They say toilets are needed as soon as is possible. Another caller says Poland, Hungary and Denmark have announced plans to hold a referendum on the EU migration deal. The Irish people should have their say also by way of a referendum. Can Ireland say no to the second plantation, as they're calling it? I don't understand what you mean by plantation. I get your wider point. We are, I believe, are we not paying money to avoid to circumvent our responsibilities that we signed up for? We signed up for this. You're not obliged to. That's why I don't understand the referendums in Poland, Hungary and Denmark. Maybe it's to see if that will be extended. But if we're talking about the same thing, we signed up voluntarily to do our bit in terms of housing immigrants, migrants, refugees. A caller says, I'm a farmer attending an IT course in Carndonna. It is the best thing I was ever at. I've learned so much from Donegal ETB. Well, there you have it, straight from a person's experience. They've had a very positive experience. They're at the IT course in Carndonna. So if you're a farmer, you should get in contact with the ETB and maybe you'll have as positive an experience as that listener there. The way you talk, Greg, you think everyone was connected to the internet? I don't understand what you mean. We've literally been talking today about 12.6% of the Donegal population not being connected to the internet at all. So I don't understand what you mean by I'm talking like everyone's connected to the internet. Literally, the reason we're talking about it is off the back of a statistics which shows 12.6% aren't connected to the internet, and we've pointed out, and I pointed out, that doesn't even talk to those who have access to the internet but haven't signed up, or you know what I mean. So I don't understand your point, and I'm really open to criticism, by the way. But if you could just explain to me what in my commentary makes me think everyone's connected to the internet. It should be called no doc, as they just send you to casualty anyway, says a disgruntled listener there. Greg, why do we have daily stress on staff in hospitals to provide a reasonable and effective service? Do we not have an equipped logistics system using healthcare economics to work out yearly an entry-exit number and work out an equation to have beds for 5% more than expected, rather than working under the expected percentage? A caller says ED is flooded with staff, but they're all trainees. It is not qualified consultants at the bedside, but trainees who are not qualified. The disorganisation is down to the lack of qualified staff. That's the elephant in the room that no one wants to address. There is no one with decision-making power in the department. Well, you see, when I talked about how it's certainly want to address it, when I was talking earlier on about certain like fractures being able to not to be seen at certain times, that's because the qualified staff aren't there. There are other services that you could be sitting waiting on and know when they're actually able to do that work, so you could be sitting there until someone comes on shift 7 or 8 hours later. So qualified staff and the staff that are working there, working in the evenings and the weekends, that's all out there, and that's part of the big conversation. They want to move from a 9 to 5 days a week, to a 24/7 system, which means having the qualified people you talk of there and in great numbers. Okay, Pat McCart joins us now. Hiya, Pat. Great to chat to you. How are you keeping?
I'm grand, Greg. How are you?
I'm all right. Now, we've been speaking to a few different people over the course of the week, talking about instances on the road and drivers' behaviour and what they've encountered. And you, with 4 decades by your own account of driving, experienced a first recently, Pat. What happened?
Greg, last night was very strange. I left my son up in Newton Cunningham, and I was driving back. I live in Burt, and I was driving back on the main Derry Letterkenny Road. There's a place called the Black Bridge. It's about a mile outside Burt village. I was driving along, and the next thing, I was driving normally. There was cars coming towards me, and the next thing, a car actually passed me on the side, where people would be allowed to walk, or where the bikes and there was all I know it was a black Passat. I can't really give a registration or anything like that, but it was the most unusual thing. But Greg, it was seriously crazy. Had anyone been coming out of the Black Bridge in a car or a bike or walking, they would have got absolutely cleaned by the car that was passed. And like Greg, as you said, I've been driving for 40 years. I've driven in America, Australia, a good part of Europe, and I've never seen driving like that. It was absolutely sort of crazy. It was insane. Somebody passing you on the inside of a single-track road. Greg, I got to admit, I got a real shock, because I think he beeped the horn as he passed me, and I jumped. The last thing I expected to see, on a main road was somebody passing you totally illegally on the inside.
Unbelievable. And you were driving at the correct speed. It's not like they were frustrated because you were driving slow. You were sitting at the speed for that road.
Greg, I was sitting in the normal 50 miles an hour, something like that. I'm not a fast driver, but I'm not a slow driver. And I was just doing normal. But this guy was obviously in a hurry, and there was cars coming, the oncoming traffic, so he couldn't get past me. He obviously wanted me to go considerably faster. So when there was a wee bit of a gap in the road, he obviously decided to go in the inside track. But Greg, I've never seen anything like that. Another member of my family, the traffic guys there at Newton, they saw somebody passing, going on to the other side of the road to pass somebody out. But, but Greg, I have to say, this road between Derry and Letterkenny, it's become extremely busy, particularly at peak times, and it's like a racetrack, because it really should be a dual carriageway, but some of it's insane, Greg. Considering the fact that on Monday 2 people lost their lives and other people are critically ill in that Clonus, I just thought to myself, this is absolutely insane. And the bad manners, or whatever it is that you would call that, in regard to other road users, I don't know. I just thought it was insane. I thought, good God, here I am in my 60s, finally seeing something I've never seen before.
Indeed. And it would make you wonder what would it take to change driver behaviour, because, obviously the guards and road safety groups are constantly putting information out there. And as you say, that horrendous and terribly sad reminder of the dangers on our roads, you think this would be enough for people to say... Like it's just such a blatantly dangerous thing to do. Do you know, this is not like misjudging and overtaking manoeuvre or things that maybe you can happen by accident or whatever. This is someone recklessly undertaking you. And, as you were describing the possibility of someone pulling out, Pat, if they tried to avoid them, they were taking you out as well or whatever it might be. It could have been horrendous.
Yeah. No, Greg, by the way, you hit the nail on the head there. It was not sort of accidental. This was very much deliberate. They had the choice to wait behind me and wait till other cars would pass me in the legal or the right-hand lane. They cut inside. And had there been anybody there was, as far as I know, there was possibly 3 young fellas, maybe 4 in the car. Now, I presume they thought it was funny or, hey, watch me type thing. Greg, I really genuinely don't know. But all I'm saying is I've been driving for more than 40 years, and last night was the first. By the way, I've never seen anybody do that before either.
I've had that experience. I had that experience once going up Lurgy Brack, and I was doing the speed limit and or slightly under, and someone went up the inside on the slow lane, so to speak. But I've never seen it in a regular road. But funny you should say, Pat, because the texter says, Greg, exact same thing happened to me on that very road, and it happened to my friend also. Apparently this is a regular occurrence. It is shocking. So it might be your first, Pat, but it's not the first time people have seen it on that road. We can't even use the word accident. I was going to say it's an accident waiting to happen, but that wouldn't be an accident. That would be an act of reckless driving causing a road traffic collision, and God knows the consequences that it might be. 3 or 4 people in that car, another car pulling out of the side road, you in your car, Pat.
That's
Do you know
the
what
one,
I mean?
Greg, yeah. Had a car pulled out of the side road, now, I don't know how much time this guy... Greg, let's get this clear. This guy pulled out... He was travelling at some speed. He was gone in the space of a couple of seconds. So I presume that his issue with me, that I wasn't going fast enough for him, and I was getting on his way. But, the number of people who have been killed on our roads, Donegal has an atrocious record for car accidents and road deaths. And, if somebody thinks this is funny and look at the old Derry driver out there, I was doing legally. I would presume I was doing 50, 55 miles an hour, which is a regular speed in that road. But this guy, I would say, was easily doing 75, 80.
Yeah, and as well as that too, Pat, I mean, you've got the experience behind you, but for others, it's actually really quite an intimidating thing to do to a driver. But you see it all the time. I'd be going over the Loch Salt Road. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Others might.
I am, actually, yeah.
And people fly up that road and overtake you. You don't even know that they come out of nowhere, and you think, my word, they're on a death mission, it seems. But anyway, Pat, listen, thank you for making us aware of it and accepting our invite to come on and talk about it. As I say, it's as you say, 40 years on the road, first time you've experienced, hopefully the last. But as you say too, and your words, not mine, you're in your 60s and you saw something for the first time. I wish it was a bit more positive, that's all. All right, Pat.
Bye, Greg.
Thanks so much indeed. Best wishes to you and yours. Pat McCart there, who's a regular guest on this show. Passport, says a listener. I found my passport was out of date 5 days before my nephew's wedding. I went online for an application. I went into the traumatising fast track lottery to continue all input information all over again and again. No slots available. And when one was available, it was too late. It's done my head in. I contacted the passport office continuously by phone. I travelled to Dublin for a flight I'd booked. Told I could not get on even though I had 4 other means of official identification. In continuous conversation with passports, told different answers. Eventually, I got an answer that Friday, while in the post office, told it may be printed by Friday evening, rang at 4:20 in the afternoon. No answer. I went to a passport kiosk and asked where I could get my passport. If it is printed, said, go to the room down the corridor and they'll tell you. I went down to it to be told, very obnoxiously, that it wasn't printed. I did contact TDs, including Micheál Martin, but to no avail. Received the passport the Tuesday after the wedding, so I missed the wedding. Furiously, I emailed various government TDs about a lack of training in their own systems. Why is the urgent slot system a lottery, not a queuing system? Why does it take too long to produce a passport? I wrote to TDs about this with positive improvements, not one reply from a TD. And that's one person's experience. They missed the wedding. Heartbreaking. If you were trying to use other forms of ID, it sounds like it might have been over in Britain. I don't know what the options were. Ferry, you couldn't afford to organise that or sorted that out. But be that as it may, you missed the wedding, which is regrettable. And then we had another caller earlier on, and maybe this is the lottery of it. They, simple application, applied for a passport renewal on a Sunday, and they received it in the post on the Tuesday. So there you go. Different people, different experience. I'm sorry you missed the wedding. It must be heartbreaking. You only sort of get to see that once with that person anyway. Okay, listen, thank you very much for that. Right, just to remind you that come along and say hello we are going to be outside Kavanagh's Super Value tomorrow. Between 9 and 12 for the 9 till noon show on the road. We're down there as part of the Merry Fun Dunlow Festival. But tune in and watch the show. Hopefully, all going well. It will be streamed as is normal. We'll be joined by a whole host of guests. But we have the usual Friday panel, by the way, to discuss the days and the week's big stories. And then from 10 to 12, we've got a mixture of conversation and entertainment. And Michael and Fanula will be dropping in and all that jazz. So all the usual fun for a Friday. So join us tomorrow from 9. If you're in Dunlow, come over and say hello to us. We might even have a Highland Radio pen for you. Who's to say? They're like gold dust around here. But anyway, from in studio, that's it for now. Thank you to all of you who listened to the show, took part in the programme. Those of you who've watched it, it's very much appreciated. Stay tuned. Michaela